not so fun things. How's that sound to you, Jen?
That works.
Okay,
Jump
cool.
right in.
Yeah, so thanks for having us today. And sure enough, that snow didn't fall. So on Monday when we were checking the forecast, we saw that there would be snow coming down, but then look at the weather today and that didn't actually happen. So I'm sorry we weren't there in person and filled our mornings with in-person meetings over here, but definitely want to get up there. Um, some good news that happened in December, there's and early part of January include uh, well, Senator Hickenlooper worked with Senator Romney on the Upper Colorado and San Juan River Basin's Endangered Fish Recovery Programs Reauthorization Act. In short, the fish bill. Um, so that we were able to get that into the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, which is, a must pass bill. And that was really huge because instead of just a 1 year extension, it was for 7 years. That's a great bill because it extends the programs that protect four threatened and endangered native fish species in the upper Colorado and San Juan River basins. Um, and we got that, and we listened to stakeholders on the funding levels that were needed to really carry out that program well. And so we're able to get that stakeholder level included in the bill. So yeah, big win that we were applauding last year. Another big one for our area at the beginning of January, or I guess mid-January, was uh, as part of the Inflation Reduction Act, Senators Hickenlooper and Bennett really advocated hard for including $4 billion to mitigate drought, and we saw 100. It was announced $152 million for 17 projects in Colorado, and that included one for the Southwest Water Conservation District for 25 million. So that was announced on the 17th. And of course, with the way things are, that's a little bit in limbo, but we have been hearing some good, some encouraging news that will still go through since it does have to do with drought. So those are a couple of big recent wins. We're just still encouraging everyone to recognize the great impacts from the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. Whit, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I'll jump in there. A couple other bills that we were happy to see get across the finish line, kind of in the home stretch. At the end of last year, the Good Sam pilot bill made it across the finish line, and you know,
That's great.
yeah. So I know Good Sam's maybe not as much of a front burner now since you guys have got the super fun moving forward, but I like to remind anyone that'll listen to me that Good Sam was really born in the Animas River Basin. That's where the whole idea came from originally, and way long ago in the dark ages when I was a rookie congressional aide, guys like Peter Butler and Bill Simon and Steve Farron from your county came in and said, "Hey, why don't you guys do this Good Sam pilot bill?" I was working for John Salazar at the time, and we're like, "Heck yeah, let's do it!" And we got that bill introduced in the House, and at the time, the wise old elders in the Senate, said, "Well, yeah, it's great. You guys want to, do that pilot bill in the Animus, but we're going to do a national bill here. So, thanks for thinking about it, but we're going to do the national bill." Of course, here we are, 20 years later, no national bill has passed. Would have been nice if we could have passed the pilot bill long ago, proven up the concept, and got it done. But eventually, the Senate, in its slow-moving wisdom, did get around to a pilot bill approach, which our offices were working on, before Gold King. Then after Gold King, we tried to do a national bill with Gardner, crashed and burned, unfortunately. But the idea of a pilot bill back on the table. Now we've got the pilot bill passed into law, and we can have 15 projects in the country under the current new policy. I've been talking to our good friends at Dreams from the state up in Denver, and TU, and I think everyone's kind of starting to think like, do we have some projects in Colorado that could compete nationally? I think one of them is in your county. I'm blanking on the name of the mine. I can maybe try and look it up here, but I think TU was thinking of one. Dory, maybe Little Dora, was it? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, that's just down the road here.
Yeah, because that's outside of the Superfund zone, right?
It is. Yeah,
So
it's right, where they did the North Star work. A little while ago, the Little Dora is just 2 or 3 blocks this way from that. But it does have a lot of water coming out of it and drains, 5 to 7,000 feet of mountain, so.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that could be one. I mean, I would encourage you guys to stay in touch with our friend Ty from TU. And, if you've got any ties to Dreams, I don't know if Kristen's still moving around through your county every now and then from Dreams. You
And
could
we,
maybe
we
talk
just
to
met,
them.
we just met with her this morning.
There you have it. So, yeah. So I think, the guy, I think the key guy is Jeff Graves is his name up in Denver. I think he'll be helping put the list together. And, I think that'll really wait until we actually see the guidelines from EPA on how the bill will be administered. And I don't think they have to do a rulemaking on it, but they'll probably put together a manual. But because the entire federal civil service is under siege right now, I wouldn't expect that to come anytime soon. But you guys could think about advocating for yourself on that. Whether or not you guys could make a serious run at it. Probably want to have a coalition of TU and Dreams backing it on that. The other bill I wanted to mention that we got across the finish line was one that I think of at least partially as born and bred in you guys' county. I remember we had that great meeting during COVID there at the Kendall Mountain Center with Senator Bennett and I, some of you guys were there, not maybe everyone because we were still social distancing back then and sitting in chairs 10 feet apart and whatnot, so we couldn't have everybody. But you guys really, articulated very well what was happening with recreation and how recreation can be a good thing, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and how you could really use more funding and tools for managing planning for recreation. And so one of the things that we got together in our office a few years ago was a bill to allow the Economic Development Authority to make recreation one of the programs that they can support with their existing programs that they have now, which is, essentially all those programs have to create good paying jobs. And of course, they work closely with Region 9, who you guys are very, very intimately involved with. But so that is now included in the EDA programs. That EDA reauthorization finally got done in December. It'd been 20 years since Congress had reauthorized that program. So great to see that get across the finish line. Laura Lewis is very happy about it. And so in the future, we could think about if there's projects that would involve like recreation planning and also have some kind of tie-in to job creation. Maybe we could make a run at it. I've kind of pondered if, something like the trail system up there could be eligible. I don't know yet. I think we'd have to wait and see what the implementation guidelines are as EDA, works on that. But I know that's a project near and dear to you guys' heart. Whether project money could go for construction, I think is maybe iffy, but maybe more planning, and you may already be past the planning phase. But it's something to keep in mind, with all the recreation in you guys' county, if there's a way there, tie it all into, jobs and whatnot. Maybe you guys could make a run at some of that down the road. And then one other bill I wanted to mention that has not become law, but that we are very excited about. And if I was better at my job, you guys would already have got an email on this, but I'm like treading water right now and in over my head. And so I haven't even sent the email out yet. But we have reintroduced the SHRED Act, both senators. And, that is the one that allows the Forest Service to retain some of the money they send back to DC from ski areas when they pay the rentals. Purgatory pays a fee, and they send a bunch of money back to the treasury. This would allow us to keep all the money out here in Colorado on the ground where it's generated, and then use it for recreation programs on the national forest. Ski areas would be the biggest beneficiary, but also a significant portion of the money, about 25%, could be used for just general recreation things. Trailheads, visitor services, avalanche education, some housing authorities that the agency has and stuff like that. So we have been trying to work on that bill for many, many years. And we have a new strategy that we're working on this year where we're going to try and fold it into the budget reconciliation package, which is coming together. And our Republican partner on that bill is Senator Brasso, who's a very, very senior Republican. And so we like, the chance we might have there to get it folded in. It would be a game changer for all the national forests in Colorado for their recreation program. I mean, right now they basically have pretty much like no money. And if this bill passed, every national forest in Colorado's budget would, quadruple or be like literally an almost astounding amount of money, like $20 million on the White River National Forest. And overall statewide, I think it's about 28 million. So it'd be great to see. We're going to really fight on that one. Both senators will hope to get that across the finish line and fund more of this recreation stuff.
Do you guys know if that only applies to Forest Service or does it also BLM?
Yeah, you guys got too much BLM land up there. Let's do a bill to transfer it over to the Forest Service. No, I'm just joking. We did that actually once in your county with one piece of land right up on the Molas Pass Winter Recreation Area. Remember that one? We did give that one to the Forest Service, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, it's only a Forest Service. And who was that? Was that that asked the question? I can't see all you guys on the
Austin over here. Yeah,
Austin. All right, on you're like the voice from above off camera there.
Yeah, usually the thing switches around and it goes, but for whatever reason, it's locked onto Scott. He's in the spotlight, so it's all right.
Oh, we got to look at Fetch this entire call.
It's not
Just kidding, buddy.
Yeah,
I didn't know the owl camera showed preferences.
I think we're the only ski area in the state of Colorado that's on BLM.
Yeah. Right.
Silverton Mountain is the only BLM ski area. So I understand why they're narrowing in on the Forest Service since it's a pretty small group.
Oh, there you are. All right, man.
Yeah.
We have mastered the technology, or the technology has mastered us. Yeah, unfortunately. So the way the money is retained, Austin, is, the National Forest Unit that generates the money gets to keep it. And so the San Juan, the only forest or the only, major ski area they have is Purgatory. So, the revenue Purgatory generates would stay here in the San Juan. So we would not be the biggest beneficiary of direct money, but there is also a 20% fund that can be used on any forest. So hard to say exactly how it would shake down, but if I'm going off of memory, I think the Juan ends up with maybe another 700,000 for recreation, which you guys do have stuff that is on Forest Service, like Ice Lakes Basin Trailhead or something. If this money came together, you could do something up at a place like that, or anywhere else. There's Forest Service property, Andrews Lake, wherever it may be, they could fund something.
That could be used for like trails maintenance, education, more toilets.
Enforcement.
Could it be used to hire more people? Because they're so short-handed. I mean, they are so short-handed.
Yeah, maybe I would say I think some of it's going to be up to agency discretion. Like we could see them the way we have the bill written in its current form. And yeah, I wasn't the only person that worked on that bill. And so we had to negotiate with those jokers over on the Senate E&R committee at one point, and they made some rewrites and changes. So the bill's not quite as broad in authority as we originally wanted it to be. But I think for things like seasonal rangers and stuff, I believe my best guess is that the Forest Service would interpret the existing language that it would allow something like that, because they could say that really improves visitor services, which is something authorized in the bill to be improved. And so I think they could, but I don't think it could go for like general staff salaries. That would be kind of crossing a budgetary line.
The whole thing is if either of these bills are promoting recreation, which brings more people, you got to have more management for those greater amounts of people, and we're definitely seeing those impacts from greater amounts of people. So I think those bills should be providing for that impact too. And if you're promoting recreation, are you promoting preservation or conservation along with any of that too? Because
Yeah.
the more impacts on conservation and preservation, all that, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll go ahead there. Sorry.
No, I was done.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think really the whole reason we've done the bill, I mean, first of all, I mean, we know that the Forest Service budgets are broken and, they haven't got enough money to do their job. Same thing with BLM. But, basically, we're having to kind of get creative with some workarounds for, them to actually have this money. And so, this is something called fee retention, which is done with a lot of other programs on national forest land, like, grazers and other folks. A lot of their fees go into pots that get utilized. This one, the money is primarily generated from ski areas, so only fair that they get the preponderance of funds. But it'll help the whole recreation program, and then we also put a clause in that it could go for flexible partnership housing sites as well. So we think it'd be helpful, and it would also just take the pressure off the Forest Service budget, right? Because if all of a sudden they got sent all this money for recreation, they could maybe move some of their other money around from their rec budget into other programs. So it would really lift all boats with the Forest Service, and they're ecstatic about it. I mean, they are very, very, very eager for this bill to pass and recognize it would be a game changer for the Forest Service. And we're cautiously optimistic with the reconciliation route. We had tried that once before, got shut down, but we're gonna give it another go with our partner Barrasso, and he swings a big stick in the Republican caucus, and so hopefully can get it done.
Yeah, just the fact that the money's gonna stay home, instead of just being absorbed in a general fund where it would be spent anywhere. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's so, and I'll get you guys that email off. Every day I wake up and say I'm going to get that email off to all the counties I work with. Hasn't quite happened yet, but maybe today will be the day, and you'll have a little more on it. I'll throw a couple of the press clips on it as well, just for background.
Any word on the Core Act?
The Core Act is, we tried to get that through in the lame duck session as well, and there was hope for a kind of a very large and comprehensive public lands bill that would kind of clear the decks of all the pending public land bills in the western United States, not just Colorado but everywhere, and then also maybe fold in a big forestry package. But those jokers on the Republican side over on the House Natural Resources Committee really wouldn't come to the table and negotiate in good faith. And you don't have to take my word for it. Even a lot of the Republican Senate folks were saying that by the time it was all over. So the hopes for that package, which a lot of us spent the better part of December working on, and Senator Bennett, was convening meetings with, Chuck Schumer and the other Western senators to, try and pull this together. And the forestry bill was one that was assigned to his committee over on, he runs the forestry committee on the ag committee, and that bill was under his jurisdiction. So we were trying to negotiate on it, get that bill to a version everyone could agree on. And, it just sadly crashed and burned. So we'll have to start working on all our public land bills again here in this Congress. And I wouldn't hold my breath that a lot of that will make forward progress in this Congress.
Yeah, for the Core Act, Senator Hickenlooper will still be right alongside Senator Bennett on advocating for that. Senator Hickenlooper is still on the E&R committee, and making inroads with the new members on that committee. So we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, Senator Hickenlooper's been invaluable to have on the committee there. You really did a lot of good work, particularly convincing Senator Lisa Murkowski to support the bill this last Congress, to give it a bipartisan vote out of committee, which is great. So yeah, all the support's there in Colorado, but we're just gonna have to keep waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too bad. It's a good bill.
It's a great bill.
Yeah.
A lot of great bills go to die in DC, but I think eventually that one will happen. It's just a question of, honestly, I personally feel it's just a question of when. I think you've got Colorado's 2 senators supporting it. You've got coalition of folks all across the state. So, eventually the dam will break, and you've got 10 to 14 Western senators that want bills. Eventually, the stars will align to get a deal in the Senate. We could have done a deal on the Senate side by ourselves. Only problem is we have to pass it through the House too. So
To get it past the
I was
house,
bold.
yep.
You guys have any other updates for us or anything you wanna share? with us?
Let's let well, go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
Oh, well, that was all the more of the good news. Do you want to just hop over to the reality
bad
now?
news. Sure.
I mean, well, I guess some people consider this good news, right? But yeah, I mean, we've all been watching the news over the last 3 weeks. I can't believe that it's only been 3 weeks. But we are seeing some illegal and chaotic actions, freezing hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding, shutting down entire agencies without congressional approval, handing over access to Americans' sensitive and confidential data. Like, I mean, it is appalling what's happening right now. And just the staggering number of programs that could be impacted, are impacted, healthcare, food, nutrition, housing, childcare, the list goes on and on. So, and unfortunately with each, executive order or memo that comes out from the Trump administration, there's not always the clarity that's needed, right? So it just leaves us with more questions. And so I'm sure San Juan County is just a lot of questions as to the extent of the impact that these announcements could have. And so I've really just wanted to let you all know that, Congress has the power of the purse. As the president really needs to abide by the law, including appropriations. So Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett, very committed to using every tool at their disposal to disrupt these actions. So, I've got a list of letters that Senator Hickenlooper has been sending out with, a full team of senators, including Senator Bennett, condemning the Trump administration for firing the inspectors general of several agencies, the letter to vote on the effect of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau enforcement pause, and the effect that it has on military families. The January 6th pardons, I could just list off so many letters that have been sent out. And it won't stop, Senator Hickenlooper will still be advocating and be getting louder and louder and louder. So that because Coloradans are going to be impacted with all of these decisions. So, with that, I think what's helpful for us to be really strong advocates for Colorado is to reach out right away to our Senate offices. If you see anything that's impacting the county, but also, organizations and other entities that are in the county. Because I think those real, hard examples bring this to life, right? And then the other thing that I want to highlight, and that includes funding freezes or the impact of, maybe federal workers that are leaving as part of this massive purge that's happening. Just telling the story of the impacts of this, because we really do need to, showcase what's happening to Colorado. I also want to say I think I said contact Senate offices, but hopefully you guys are talking to Congressman Hurd's office as well, because he really needs to be hearing. He really needs to be hearing from folks all over his district, as far as these impacts go. I'll let John Whitney talk a little bit about reconciliation, because that's a big one that's coming down the pike too. But what did you want to add anything on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump in here. I think you covered most of it, but yeah, it's a really fascinating time for the federal budget. As Lisa said, we're seeing efforts at freezing money, which could move into an effort to impound the money and never distribute it, which is blatantly illegal. Constitution gives the power of the purse to Congress. So if Congress appropriates money, it's supposed to be spent. The Supreme Court has reiterated that they agree with that, many times. So, we hope that rule of law will continue, and, that will be the way the republic functions. That may be headed to the Supreme Court again. It's certainly already, in some of the lower courts. And so far, they've said, they don't think what the Trump administration is doing is okay. But then all of this is maybe just a prelude to where budget reconciliation really kicks in. And, that process is starting right now in the House and Senate to put those bills together. And, of course, Congress does have the authority under the Constitution to make those budgetary decisions. And so this budget bill that's being prepped right now might be one for the ages that has more significant cuts and changes in federal spending and taxation than we've seen in a long, long time. There's a lot of thinking that some of this money that's been frozen, will end up in this bill to be, legally rescinded in that budget bill that would then be reallocated to, the new priorities that would be put forth in that bill, things like the border wall or, enforcement for immigration, detention camps, and tax cuts. So it's really just a time to think about the federal budget, and we're just urging communities to think about what's important for them in the federal budget, what's a must-have, what's a nice-to-have, and be tracking on that, and really, frankly, raising your hand and advocating for yourself in this time. Because if we're all asleep at the wheel here, we might wake up with a significantly different federal government, and there's probably places the federal budget does need to be cut, and but this one might go deep, and a lot of things that maybe in the past were considered sacred cows may be on the table. So, and the other thing I should mention about budget reconciliation is it essentially will be an exercise of the majority party in the House and Senate. It can happen. The bill moves forward under budget reconciliation rules where it is not subject to the filibuster, so it can pass on a party line vote in both chambers. So if the Republican caucus agrees, they can move a bill forward. Now, there's still a lot of back and forth of how big the cuts are going to be and how big this first bill is going to be. The House wants to do one giant budget bill. The Senate wants to do two, kick the tax code rewrite to the fall for a second bill and just do, the budget and immigration and energy on this first one. But that'll be sorted out eventually. But I think the most important takeaway is just, think about what's important in the federal budget and advocate for yourselves. And I think educating the whole delegation, because, Michael and Hickenlooper have been doing this for a long, long time. They're, more or less familiar with most of the, the important budgetary priorities for Colorado, but Representative Hurd is new. And, I don't think folks should take it for granted that he has as deep a knowledge of the federal budget, but, our offices are working really well with him, coming together on some stuff, working on some bills. And, he seems to be, I think he has the potential to be a great congressman and a really outstanding representative for the Western Slope. Everywhere that he's been, he's left people feeling that he listened, that he was attentive, that he's intelligent. And so I don't know if you guys have had the chance to visit with him yet. If not, I'm sure he'll make it around at some point. But, establishing ties with his office as well as ours on this budget is probably a good idea. Are any of you guys going to CCI this year or NACO this year? I don't think I saw you on the list. Or any of you making the trip to DC in March?
Definitely not NACO. I might go to CCI.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's not easy, but to get back there. But I think it's worth considering. Going to those annual spring fly-ins to DC. I think it's a good time for commissioners to be back there. There'll be plenty of your fellow commissioners there. CCI is sending a very large delegation this year, and so. But as I looked over the list of folks going, I didn't see a lot of the kind of the higher mountain counties. I didn't see Hinsdale or San Miguel or Ouray or some of the counties in the San Juans at the headwaters. So that view may not be as well represented on this one.
The other thing I'll just add is, normally around this time of year, we get to have the fun conversation around congressionally directed spending. And so that's also very much, we're hopeful still. There's still reason to have hope for that program, but we'll see. And we'll let you know as soon as any opportunities come out and what those, what the guidance is.
Yeah, it's kind of clear as mud how that's going to work this year, just because we still haven't finished up the fiscal year. We're well, what are we, about halfway through it now? We still haven't done it. There's hope that package will finish in March, and then hopefully by March we're starting the process for next year's CDS. And I just want to say that it and Willie and I had this conversation this summer and we saw each other, but it weighs heavily on me that San Juan County and Silverton has yet to receive a congressionally directed spending allocation since we started doing this again a few years ago. So, I really encourage you guys to be thinking about ideas that might work there. And I think, Lisa and I are very, very happy to brainstorm ideas here and now or, down the road. But, I think we've kind of learned what succeeds and doesn't succeed, going back through the gauntlet there for local communities. And I think, we'd really like to prioritize getting some funding for you guys. I know that the trails one didn't work out. I think I mentioned to some of you that that's a really, really tough fund for us to earmark. It's really,
Very competitive.
yeah. I mean, I'll be even blunter and say, it's like on paper, any senator can apply for it. But let's just say when the final list of projects comes out of what got funded from the account, they all happen to be from members who are senior members of the Senate Appropriations Committee. So in other words, if you're not a chairman or a ranking member of a subcommittee, you really, in practical terms, you're not going to get funding from that account. So, but yeah, so as you guys come up with ideas, we're happy to, bounce those around, kick those around. And with you all, I consider it a real priority for this. And I think I speak for Lisa too, for this upcoming appropriation season that really want to work with you guys. And I think Willie, I was thinking about, I think you had I think you had a couple ideas you were kicking around this summer, but we can hit that if we want or whatever makes sense.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit earlier today about one of our priorities for the county, so our emergency services, which our rescue team for a lot of the federal lands around us, and probably about a third of the rescues that they do are in federal lands. A third of them are on a U.S. highway, and then the other third are our community. So that their need for an upgraded facility and more space is pretty dire these days. So that's one of our main goals.
You like to construct a new facility for that, for emergency services?
Yes, they're applying for a planning grant through DOLA right now. And so that's where we're going with that.
I really like that idea. Can we talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
So I really like that idea, and I don't know if you've been in touch with your your colleagues on the other side of Cinnamon Pass there, but we worked with Hinsdale County on that for the last few years, and there is a fund that has been open to congressionally directed spending for that through the Department of Homeland Security. That fund also you can apply for without an earmark. You can do a discretionary application. Sometimes people put both those options in play and hope that one of them gets there. But so the one we got for Hinsdale, was primarily for them to have an EOC for their, search and rescue and their sheriff and whatnot. And then the building will also accommodate some other, kind of long-standing needs from the county. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been in Lake City and seen their facility there. It's like, I don't know of a smaller government facility on anywhere in Colorado than theirs. So kind of long overdue, but did want to just flag one thing for that application. If you guys do go down that route, you will need to get a letter from the State Department of Homeland Security. I think officially, I think it comes from OEM maybe, that they are endorsing it. So it's one of those ones where, we can earmark the funds, but it's got to have the blessing of the appropriate state agency. They're pretty good at turning those around pretty quick, but just put that on your radar. And trying to remember who's you guys' emergency ops lead right now.
That'd be Jim Donovan is our OEM
Okay.
manager, and then Tyler George is our director for the Ambulance Association.
Yeah.
And then we have our other chief here. We have Gilbert Archuleta, our fire chief here as well.
Yeah. So they probably know the right people to go after that in Denver, to get that. So yeah, I think that's a really rock solid idea.
And the town has a pretty desperate need for an upgraded sewage treatment facility. So we're not going to step on their toes if they need to go that route. But last time we talked about this, they weren't ready to apply for it, and not sure where we'll be this time.
Yeah, I think Gloria's been thinking about it a lot. Her and I have been talking about it a good amount, and those STAG grants, they're called, or STAG earmarks, those have been pretty productive for this corner of the state. A lot of towns have gotten them. Rico, Dolores, Dove Creek. There's been a good amount in this corner of the state. They're generally capped out of what we can get at maybe 3.5, maybe sometimes stretch into 4.
And that's been pretty high. I feel like it's mainly like 2 to 3.
Yeah, the average. Yeah, Lisa's right to say that, because the average is 2 to 3. So, some places, they've gone a little higher. But I will say that account is also one that's controversial, and that some people don't think Congress should be earmarking that fund, and that may or may not manifest in change of direction there this year. But the latest I've heard is we probably still will be earmarking that account this year. So that's a really good option too.
We're kind of running out of time here, but I definitely
Let's keep going.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is a great opportunity. Are you guys hearing any rumblings of cuts to the EPA? Because that's the last thing we want to see up here is cuts to the EPA. We want them to finish their projects. And that's definitely a big concern.
I think there will be cuts to the EPA. Really hopeful that it's not going to impact the timeline for the Superfund site in your backyard, staffing and otherwise. I'm curious though if you guys have been in contact with the EPA in the last few weeks since all this has started.
Willie probably has.
I've heard a little bit from Anthony, who's our representative too.
I haven't heard much lately personally.
For them, the general consensus is that as of now, the EPA doesn't feel that their funding is threatened because of the Superfund status, and that their funding has remained in place. But that's a very strong for now.
Yeah, I would hazard a guess, just look at the political tea leaves, that EPA's budget will be cut significantly in the years ahead, and I don't think Superfund will be immune from those cuts. And you guys might, some of you guys might remember, 8 years ago when the Trump administration came to power, and there was a lot of talk of cutting Superfund then, and but Gold King was so high profile then, that the director himself, or the national administrator director, came out and toured Gold King, and and it ended up on like a priority list of like the most, I can't remember, it's 10 or 20 important projects in the country. So it did okay because there was a lot of notoriety for that incident and, how that had led to the super fund. But I don't know that we're going to have that going for us this time. So yeah, we could see a cut in the budget. And, and I also think, while we're on that topic, that somehow we've got to figure out how to move that a little faster with EPA. I mean, I think, God bless them. They like to study things for a long time, but at some point, it just seems like it'd be nice to get to what I think is mostly agreed upon is at some point we're going to need a permanent water treatment plant up there to treat that water. The temp plant's great, but someday seems like it's going to need to be permanent. And we speak to EPA about that a lot and try and nudge as best we can, but with limited results so far.
I will say we are starting to see at least some of the finalized, data coming out, but yeah, there's some directions that we're getting pushed to, the natural resources damages money that came from the settlement of EPA and Sunnyside Gold, the state is really pushing us to spend that money as quickly as we can, but that money,
is there a deadline to spend that down?
We've pushed it out a little bit. They wanted to spend it all within 2 years, and I think we're now at 5. So half of the money has been released in a very short amount of time, even with the pushback that we gave the Attorney General's office and the Natural Resources Damages Committee. But so there's 50% of the money left, and we're gonna have a few more years to go there. But that money's for restoration, but the remediation needs to be done before we can do restoration work.
EPA has to finish with their studies and remediation before we could even use that money. And so
we're
right. That money can only be used for restoration.
Yeah. And so we're nervous that by the time the deadlines come to spend that money, there'll be no remediation done, and we won't be able to, and we'll lose out on potentially being able to utilize that. And I mean, and we were very concerned that our neighbors downstream would be able to get to reap the bulk of that benefit, and certainly that would be the case if we're unable to use it for any of the projects that we could foresee, because they need to be remediated first.
Right.
Another problem we have is that BLM is not, even though they own a little bit of the American Tunnel, they are not engaging in any of these decisions as far as advocating for a water treatment plant. They've been silent on the issue, even though they are one of the owners of the American Tunnel, and we're not getting anything from them on that. I'd love to see pressure on them to let's get going on this, because actually be what's making EPA drag their heels on the building of water treatment plant is the lack of participation by another government agency. So it's definitely something we need to address sometime.
We've heard that before. Anthony flagged that for me not that long ago, and I put in a formal inquiry to BLM on that, and honestly, they ghosted me. I never even heard back from them, because I think it's not a topic they like engaging on. I think partially because of that ownership issue that they've got maybe some liability in the game, and so I don't know. It seems like I think their lawyers have got them in a mode of kind of trying to dodge on that one. We can keep trying to put pressure on them, but they really are reluctant to move forward.
Anytime we ask somebody about it from BLM, we get a dodge every single time. Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. Senate office can't even get a reply. It's not a good sign. They're kind of in the bunker on that one.
That's I guess one of our biggest concerns is just funding for some of this. Another concern has always been impacts by recreation on lots of different things like Ice Lake, Andrews and all that, but it sounds like if we can get a couple of these bills passed that give more money to the Forest Service, we may be able to see some work on some of that. Somehow they're gonna have to, especially on Ice Lake, they gotta go to a permit system. They just have to. It's too crowded.
Yeah. Is that a formal position for the county that you guys have arrived at, that you want to see it move into permitting?
I don't, I don't,
We haven't voted.
I don't think we've ever had like developed a formal position on that, but we certainly have engaged in numerous talks with the Forest Service, about that desire.
Honestly, I think
Yeah.
a formal letter, if you guys are, ready for that, a formal letter from the county would be helpful.
I think we've just tried to be a little patient with the turnover in the Forest Service and let them kind of get their
Yeah.
feet underneath them. But now that Nick has been there for a little while and doesn't seem to be going away, we'll kind of have those discussions within the spring and see what we need to
Because
do.
things, I know it can be seen as pressure to have a letter like that, but it can also be seen as political cover.
And we've heard, rumors that they are thinking about implementing a permit system this spring, so we'll see whether that comes to fruition. We just haven't heard anything official, so.
I think they're very open to it. I mean, it's come up many times over the years. I just don't know that they feel like they have the money to implement it, but maybe working with one of the partners through NFF or San Juan Mountains Association, they can do it. But yeah, I think Lisa's point is a good one too. They probably want to have the local government officially on record at some point if the conversation gets serious, so that they can, demonstrate that formal local government support up the chain of command in their agency. But unless the Shred Act passes, their budget is and staff are gonna be taking a very significant decline. And even if the Shred Act passes, their staff and budget overall are still going to take a significant decline. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that this administration is going to be, having downward pressure on all the federal agencies. So, I think we have to brace ourselves that there's going to be, even less Forest Service staff to cover the job.
Yeah.
Do you guys worry about PILT money? Are there some worries about PILT funding?
I like to think PILT's a sacred cow that's so sacred it would be fine. But I know that NACO and CCI, when they're there in March, it's obviously on the top of their list, and they'll make the rounds and talk to all the Senate and House offices about it. And it's so foundational. You would think it would come through this process okay, but I don't think there's any guarantees. And there have been cuts to PILT where it hasn't been fully funded. There was several years in the 90s where it got funded at more 70% of its authorized funding. So I don't think it's off the table that it could take a little haircut. It also took a haircut during budget sequestration, if you guys remember that fun era back around. What was that, like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, where PILT took a little bit of a haircut in its funding as well. But that's the kind of thing that YCCI, NACO, those folks help. And the Western delegation always supports it. That's pretty bipartisan. But we're not the only people. Westerners aren't the only people who'll be writing these budget bills.
And as always, from your county and many, many other counties, we often hear there needs to be more PILT money. So another reason to hopefully think that it'll be what it's at anyway will stay. It'd be great to educate Congressman Hurd on that, what you use your funds for.
It'd be a good thing to echo our position to him as well, but PILT should be based on the impacts and the visitation, as well as the residency that we have too.
Totally.
The way that it's calculated,
the formula should be different.
The formula should be.
Yeah, how many people are in the county on the 4th of July or something?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know that's been a dream of our mountain towns for a long time. Christy Borcher's always, rings us on it too. But I got to tell you, that's probably aspirational to make a change in PILT like that. But
we won't stop
Especially
dreaming.
Ramona was working on it for a while from Mineral County, but it's just tough because to do that, it's like, frankly, it's like the counties that don't have quite as much of a reach in DC and whatnot, and it would be a real uphill battle. I mean, we're open to it, but and by the way, speaking of Hurd's office, have you heard from anyone from Hurd's office yet? Have you guys got a contact there yet, or?
No, but I'm thinking with this conversation, we'll need to reach out and make it here pretty quick.
Yeah,
Well, we never heard, we
Well, I
never heard
think-
from, we never heard from Bobert's office either, so.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Naomi Dobbs is still the Southwest person. And we can always put you in touch with the district director.
Yeah, it'd be nice to meet, that would be great.
Great.
Austin, since we have a lot of folks here, should we?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you maybe one last minute if you had other concerns you wanted to, echo here or talk about.
We'd sure like to see the federal, government pay for, coroner bills for things that happen on federal lands.
Hey, I'm sorry, pay for what, Fetch?
Coroner.
Coroner's bills. Yeah, every time somebody, dies on federal lands, we gotta foot the bill for the coroner.
Autopsies.
And autopsies and all that, and it seems like an unfair thing to do when so many of the accidents happen on federal lands, for a little small county.
Interesting
those
idea. I
costs.
haven't heard that one before.
Well, that was one of your main arguments for increasing PILT, but that's an interesting idea to like separate it out.
Yeah, if it happened on federal lands, then it's paid for by that agency.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think is just, I'll give you guys a heads up. We're introducing a Gold King bill tomorrow relative to folks that filed tort claims. But that's, every time I've asked around up in your town, I don't think there was any claims filed in San Juan County, but just you might see that pop up in the press that, those businesses that were affected downstream, like the rafters and whatnot, we're moving forward with a bill, the two senators and Representative Hurd, that'll be introduced tomorrow. And we'll get a press release out on it.
It was introduced last Congress, so just doing it again. It's really great to have Congressman Hurd on that. So good job, John, on that.
Their office was really great to work with. They were very open to it, and I think they got their heads around it really quick that it made sense. So off to a good start working with them.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks. We're running a couple minutes late here for our next meeting, but we really appreciate you guys tuning in and giving us an update and listening.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks all. You know where to find us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
reach out anytime.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, you guys, have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you guys. We're
Yeah,
sorry that was a couple minutes over.
Thanks for
We don't often get those two in the same room at the same time or here at all. So yeah, we really appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and just kind of open this work session that we told you guys here to talk about just some of the issues that we've had on, especially on Highway 550, and maybe Ben, you're about one or two other things related to our dispatch services that kind of came up in that as well. So yeah, I don't know if we want to have everybody come sit at the table or what are. Oh, we're gonna do it. Turn around, but yeah, come up. They're a little squeaky back there. You won't fall asleep in them.
Yes, it just shirt without arms.
I was gonna say, we had one or two, I think, yeah, no, not really. There we go, yeah. That's a good suggestion.
Cause you have a lot of money, I know that.
As you can see by these chairs, we upgrade them all the time.
No, you guys.
Yeah, sure. Whoever wants to come have a seat up here, yeah.
It affects what we're talking about, it affects all of you guys, so.
So we really appreciate you guys taking the time to come up and talk to us. We've just noticed a pretty significant change in delays on the southbound Highway 550 during winter storms. And then we had a particular incident that I got stopped at, and that kind of prompted us to write that letter to you guys, and we just wanted to just see if we could have a discussion and just discuss ways that we could kind of improve traffic flow, communication, so that we can just make sure that we're keeping that lane open. That's kind of our biggest lifeline, especially during winter storms. The CDOT folks who do avalanche control have taken to closing the northbound Highway 550 more frequently as well, due to accidents and delays happening and people doing stupid things that close the road more frequently. So their response kind of over there has just been to just close the road every time we have a big winter storm coming in. Obviously there's avalanche concerns and things like that over there that are a little harsher than what we have over on the southern end, but we still face some of those same issues as well. So Bruce, you want?
I would just say, I think that the delay issues, as far as us not being made aware that the road was closed to the south on the incident you're mentioning, are most likely due to our utilizing 3 different dispatchers, right? So
yes.
that's, you know, not something I can lay on anyone, you know, the trooper there wasn't necessarily his responsibility. It's just kind of an unfortunate consequence of having 3 different dispatch officers. So I guess my question to you would be, do you have any updates? Because I've heard nothing on that, and I'd love to know when we're getting back into Montrose and have kind of people that know us, know our terrain, and that makes things a whole lot smoother in our neighborhood.
I'm Andrew DeGale, by the way, I'm the captain of State Patrol, so thank you for inviting us up here. We've worked on a lot of different things together, so I appreciate being able to communicate with you. I did speak with ARCOM's regional manager, Ben Kinsey, who is new. It was Kim Zimmerman, so I don't know if you know, there was a change of that out of Montrose. And talking about him, they're about to move into, they're in a temporary facility right now. So that made part of the issue why they don't have the coverage that we did before out here. They should be moving back in probably March, April.
Wow.
That's what we're told. The troopers are moving in this week. They
To
still
the
have
same old building.
the same old building, remodeled
Excellent.
some things.
Done
but
right
same-
this time, because we did that like 5 years ago.
Yes. So they're back in, and that really was a problem. And then for you guys, it's 2 different dispatch centers, like after 6:30, it goes to Alamosa. Before 6:30, it's Montrose. So there was a miscommunication where things just did not get passed along. I wasn't even notified until the sheriff told me that evening.
Yeah.
So from Mexico. When you're getting a call at 10:30 at night from a sheriff who's out of country, something is going on. So that is a breakdown in communication. And you brought up a very valid concerns about the road's closed, no one knew about it. What if you had a critical incident?
Yeah.
How do you get around that? What should we have done? So that has been, I have been discussing that with our comm center, like a ball was dropped. And I'm just gonna, I apologize for that. I can't make it right for what happened, but going forward, we can be better at that.
Yeah. We had one other incident too that happened a few days later than that too, where a mother here in town's son had a seizure, and she called 911 over 100 times, and it was unanswered and went to unavailable. And that's been communicated to the Montrose
Okay,
leadership, and they've apologized. We didn't think that it was right to put that in our
Okay.
letter and talk about it, but just to let you know that it's not the only time that we've had
Okay.
that, and that's been communicated to the Montrose dispatch folks, and hopefully that's been moved up through the chain through
I would
Alamos
hope
and
so.
Craig, and they said that that was an unexcusable failure in communications, and that they would hope that never happens again. So
Been involved in a few of those. I know that they are going up the chain appropriately over there. And I do think that all those issues will be pretty well remediated when we get back in our home base there, and we have dispatchers that know us and know the terrain and know that, it's just difficult to ask for these people now, Melissa and Craig, who are dealing with their own folks. It's just a complicated issue right now. It's been going on for a long time. So I'm really glad to hear that that's short-lived.
And then, so regional manager, his last name, just if we want to spell it, it's KIND, SCHY. He says after they're taking back over your radios, he does want to meet with the county. So that have a good face-to-face and, talk about what are the issues that we've had, how can we move forward, things like that. So
we have definitely some radio issues and things like that, just the infrastructure that we have is, pretty outdated, and, there could be maybe potentially better locations for it and other options that we have in the county now. So it would be great to have a meeting.
You have contact info for this?
yeah, I can get your phone number for you, 970-249-4392.
Thank you.
Of course.
9432
4392.
43.
Yes, thank you.
I have Lex Dixie.
And so he is currently
Kim has retired?
No,
or
she's
moved?
in comm. I mean, excuse me, in Craig.
Incredible, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, and Ben was a longtime dispatcher there and then briefly went to Westco and then came back as a regional manager. So he knows the area, knows the people. He's very familiar.
Yeah, and it's such a big difference.
Oh, we're really, it's
Know every
huge.
mile post and everything like that, and what people may be having to deal with trying to even get to that mile. Post or
Yes.
Something, so.
Yeah, and landmarks, I mean, I know in the few times that I've had to call, you know, but great example, there was a guy who went off the road in Chattanooga, had to drive up the road a little bit, and there's a cabin there that has a cell phone booster
Oh.
extender, so I was able to call and let him, you know, let emergency services know, and dispatch says, well, what mile marker are you at? I'm at the ADS cabin above Chattanooga. I'm not quite to the top of Red Mountain Pass, but I'm in between, you know, the bottom, and they're like, well, go find us a mile marker and call us back. It's like, oh, okay.
But if that message was put through to, say ambulance here or whatever, they would know.
They would know exactly, yeah,
They'd
yeah.
know to go to Chattanooga.
And I think by the time I called back, it all gotten figured out, but yeah, it's just, yeah.
So moving on to secondary issues.
Yeah.
Okay. And it feels like, by the way, this is Wayne, if you guys haven't met. And his son.
Yeah.
This is Chief Gilbert Archuleta from our fire department.
And Jim Donovan, our OEM coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah. And this Sergeant Guilfoyle, who's handling PUC stuff now, right?
Still trooper.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Trooper, that's
I
okay.
heard you climb that ladder. Well, I'd advocate for it. Mitigates the towing issue that's been going on, seems like it might be fixed. Do we have?
Working
talking
on
back
getting
on
the
rotation?
ambulance going. Yep, we've got to do the compliance review,
Mhm.
and then once that's done, they'll take a look at the yard and the trucks. And then we'll be good to go on that, just get a contract in place.
Fantastic. And there's,
So it is still gonna be a rotation, so we've still got Bodians that's gonna come up, so it'll basically be every other that will have the opportunity to get a tow for animals up here.
understood. So I don't see a whole lot of reason to belabor those issues, other than I will say that, on the issue that, was brought up with the tractor trailer blocking lane of traffic. I was told that the reason we were not calling someone local is because that person had requested a private tow.
Yeah.
And we're all for that, but the way the sheriff's office looks at that on San Juan County roads is that if they're over that white line and blocking a lane, creating any kind of dangerous situation, they don't have that option. We bring whatever we can get there first to get it out of the road. We can't just wait because they have a private tow 4 hours away.
But that would have been our heavy record. That's,
Right, so the tow that was contacted by the driver was Bodians, and Bodians is our heavy for
Mhm.
there. So it would have been
On
the
a scene
same.
that I get that it's a tractor trailer and Animus doesn't have a heavy listed, but he's also come up many times and pulled a tractor trailer out of the road and made it safe. And then the heavy comes and takes it over to remove it.
My only concern there is losing both of them over the edge, you know, once you're hooked up to something, if your truck's not heavy enough to keep that thing on the road. I don't wanna see people getting hurt,
His record could,
Yeah,
I don't see that being a problem.
there were several,
It can be a problem, but it takes some
It
common
can
sense
be,
to not
but-
let it be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Usually if, dispatch calls me, I always ask if he loaded or is he unloaded? Because that makes a big difference for me. If he's in a ditch somewhere, I can't pull him, but if he's just stuck in the middle of the road, I chain up, I can get him to somewhere safe until he decides, or Bodie, or you guys decide. But if it's just a tractor itself, I can pull it with my pickup, no problem. Or I have a medium duty wrecker
okay,
it weighs 26,000 pounds. So that's equivalent to the same weight of just a tractor itself.
okay.
And I can pull it to somewhere safe.
the issue we also run into is our own liability. If they've requested a private tow and then we say, no, you're gonna use this one to move it out of the way, and then you go over the edge, we now own that. And so that's it's another layer of liability.
But don't we own someone coming around a blind curve on an icy
That's why you
night
have to
slamming into?
Yes, and that's what you have to set up, if CDOT was out there, I know, because they were stuck in the queue as well, signage, things of that nature to slow down, there's crash ahead, whatever it may be. But we have to, for that, we would have called a heavy. So if you had a heavy and we're on a rotation, same thing. Even if you were on a rotation right now, but don't have a heavy truck, it isn't the truck we would have called. There are rules that we have to follow for that.
Do we have a timeline on the follow-up that needs to be done as far as compliance?
I spoke with, it's not Kevin. It's my mixed up fellow, last week, he's Kevin Jordan. He's a few weeks out in terms of doing the compliance review, so people and all that jazz. I'll come out, to do the trucks after that, we could actually probably put the cart before the horse on this one. I'm not gonna have any time until after the 27th, I've got some truck to do, in Durango. But I wonder if I could get yours done, how many trucks?
Two. One is currently in the shop in Denver.
In Denver, okay. I'll get with you on that and try and get, because, yeah, once that CR is done, we'll be able to
And
get you on.
then how many drivers do you have besides yourself?
Just one other.
Just one, okay.
Mhm.
So on that, when they're on the rotation, it's just who's authorized for that. So say you were both gone for something and you have someone who fills in for you. For our rotational, we wouldn't be able to use that. They have to make sure that they're on your
So should
list.
I just tell you, this is this?
Yeah.
If I right from the get-go, just tell you
Yep.
everybody that's.
Yeah, if you ask them
certified
later, we'll
compliant.
work on that, but
Okay.
yeah, just know, like, say it's, like, you're on vacation.
Mhm.
And your other guy is on something else, we're like, oh, they can, my friend can drive the other truck, we can't have that.
Sure.
So that's,
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, the situation with just the tractor there in the road, I mean, it was so icy that, I mean, I think a couple people could have probably pushed him around. And then there were no troopers on scene, and so the CDOT driver was, telling people, don't touch him because you could push him into the ditch, and then and then the people were saying, oh, maybe we should just push him into the ditch. So we can move on, which would have just been.
I didn't make that.
Yeah,
Situation any better
it
at all.
didn't alleviate any of the tension that the CDOT driver was feeling, or that the other people were, going and, yeah, big credit to your troopers and our sheriff's deputy on the scene. They were, and the CDOT driver, all really professional, but there were some angry people in that lineup.
I'm sure.
And I think just, the kind of the continued the repetitive nature of these kind of road blockages from, and quite honestly, a big portion of it is lack of compliance with chain law.
Yes,
Yeah.
And one of your troopers, brought up a really great point that, when he worked somewhere else, one of the big things that they advocated for was to have some kind of mountain driving addition to the license that
Yes.
we, can probably make very little headway on, but I mean.
well, would you be with Herd if you could pass that along as well?
Sure, yeah, I will, and I'll let those two know as well, but that's something that,
That is
really
true.
affects the
It's just
safety and
another-
passage
yeah.
of our highways, so.
It's always a guy from Alabama, and it's just another red line on a map until you're up there.
Yeah, and he just follows this dispatcher and says, oh, that's the shortest way to
Yeah.
get your Grand Junction.
Yeah,
So-
or Alabama or Algeria or,
Yeah.
a lot of these folks.
Whoever it is,
just
that they don't have the chains on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're
The
inexperienced.
Yes, and on that, I just had a meeting yesterday with our port of entry, so they're doing a lot more mobile operations, they're mobile trucks, and we have 2 vans. So they're working Hermosa, Hermosa today, but we're trying to get together because we want to do more on this side and north, so I want to see them. An inspection on the north side of 550, the south side over here, so trucks, whichever way they're going, we're trying to make sure they have chains, they're in compliance, and we're really hitting it, we're hitting them a lot harder this year.
Yeah.
Well, we started in 24, but really making it a priority. I know this doesn't affect you guys, but we have over there Highway 491 that people are using so much more commercial motor vehicle traffic on to bypass I-70 and everything. And we're having those same blockage and everything, crashes out there that take forever to clean up because you've got the, the heavies and everything else. And so we've been working really hard over there, but we're not making a dent yet, even though we're out there working.
Are those, are you doing way stations and full on hazmat inspections, or is that?
We have
just
the mobile-
troopers that are normally on duty?
We do with our port of entry and with troopers, so
Okay.
both.
But I know, it seems like hazmat's on the rise here too. And we're not necessarily stopping every truck we see as a hazmat, but if we do stop a truck that is hazmat for a reason, we're making sure they're in that corridor
Mm-hmm.
through their book, I'm spacing the name of it right now. But it seems like there's plenty of folks that don't belong up here.
Yeah. And we're seeing that. We do have 2 hazmat troopers out in Dove Creek. And they work a lot. So they're actually in Denver right now, but,
Do they see a lot of people that are, for those of you who may not know that if you're a hazmat load, you're supposed to be delivering somewhere between Aztec and Delta, I believe, are the boundaries to be over our passes. So we get folks who are going to Junction or going to Albuquerque who are on our passes and don't belong there.
Yeah.
So are they seeing a lot of that?
I don't know. I've not asked that question. That's we'll ask that one. Don't know.
I just feel like the number of hazmat loads I've noticed has gone up a pretty significant percentage in the last couple of years.
And just one of the things that I had asked Wayne, about too, just in general, is like, well, so these folks come up and they don't have chains, and that's the biggest problem, is that they don't have the chains and that they're required to have. And Wayne said, I have chains that, I can help them put on and help them maybe
put them on for them.
Yeah, and put on for them for that, and that's, you could save somebody a heavy record bill, and, maybe if they are willing to buy the chains, then we could, spare them the ticket or make the ticket lesser too, if we can, get people the equipment they need to get off the road under their own power. That's always, better than wasting
That's
a bunch of
Actually,
resources from code and troopers.
that actually just came up in a meeting we had a couple months ago. We specifically talked about 491 because they're not required to have chains right there, and we're getting, so we have a lot of crashes because they're not.
Yeah,
And so we're looking into, can we just have chains
yeah,
to give them so that we can move them? And that conversation has been happening.
But on these passes, they're required, right?
Yes.
And it's
And when it goes to
both
chain law, we have
Yeah.
that, and so,
Required.
that if,
On the truck.
I know it doesn't help you and you were in the queue and it was a long night, but he did get a hefty ticket, so.
yeah.
It's amazing.
And he deserved it, because
Yeah.
multiple people had passed him and told him to stop before he closed the whole highway.
Huh.
So, he refused to listen to a lot of people telling him that, to stop making things worse for himself after he was already dead in the water, so he deserved that ticket.
Speaking to a trooper last night, and I forget the pass, over by Gunnison, it's closed.
Monarch?
No, not Monarch, the other, it's with the
Kevlar?
K, Kevlar, yes.
Yeah,
Semi stuck up there. The pass is closed.
we've
So-
had people try to go over Cinnamon or Engineer
Oh,
over paths.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Well, they look on Google Maps and it'll sometimes point them.
Doesn't look that bad.
yeah,
We even had a semi and animus forks one time.
yeah. Yeah,
So I'm not trying to lessen what's going
Oh,
on
yeah.
here, but it's just,
yeah. Yeah, we were just,
Sounds like the whole, Montrose thing is really gonna help the whole situation.
Yeah.
I think streamlining the
Yeah,
communications
because those
and,
guys know the terrain, know the players and know. They're gonna, and then one hand doesn't have to talk the other. Craig Alamosa, not even in the loop, it's Montrose.
and I think
That's gonna help.
messages don't get passed sometimes, and human error. It is what it is. And I think that's really what happened on this one, as far as the communication not getting back.
Right.
By the time Alamosa was saying something, Trooper was already on the scene, but didn't know, there wasn't communication prior to that.
Right.
So,
I think another big issue has been the cascade curves.
Yes.
And that we've had some big accidents,
Mhm.
Where, communication on what the material that has spilled, has not been conveyed. So that just may relate back to once Montrose is reestablished. But that's just another thing to convey, is making sure that chain of communication, especially if it's, even if it's not hazmat, just knowing that, okay, something spilled,
mhm.
and that we know that the
It's
case
potentially
closed.
explosive with a spark.
Yeah, or,
That was amazing.
Or if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I was on scene, yeah.
yeah.
That was.
Or if it's a load of donuts, we can get down
And I'm gonna throw something, that was supposed to have been cleaned up, and another agency took that over and said, no, we got this. But no, they did not got that. There were some issues.
What other agency would have?
I don't, it wasn't me, it wasn't ours.
Okay.
And so things were supposed to have been cleaned up sooner.
We get that a lot. I've had to harass a lot of different, whether commercial trucking companies, especially to clean up their load, or,
Yeah.
here when it's, so I'm glad this came up because this has been a bone of contention for some time. Typically, if it's a vehicle and someone's moving and they go over the pass and they spew all their belongings all over the hillside, that tow company is responsible for every piece of that. Now, if it's commercial,
The tow
Yeah.
company, they contract with the tow company to get, they're supposed to clean all that up.
that's our policy here, but I keep getting these tow companies who tell me that they're only responsible for the vehicle, not the load.
Mm.
So I've got barrels full of black tar hash all over but that they didn't want to come clean up for months and months. We had chicken byproduct that was used to make dog food that they wouldn't come clean up for months and months until it it turned rancid and became a hazmat. So then they had to come clean it up at a much greater expense. So I'm getting told by some of these commercial companies that the load is not their responsibility, only the vehicle is, which doesn't really.
I wonder if they're using two different insurance, like they've got insurance for on their truck, like they're leasing the truck. That might be the issue.
Load one on the trunk.
Mhm.
That's the situation that I run into, cause like in the car, it's no problem to clean up all the stuff. It's a couple of semis that I had to clean up, cross ties or whatever for the railroad. They don't have enough cargo insurance. So as someone that's out there, I don't like to work for free. So that's why a lot of commercial stuff, it gets kind of pushed in the ditch in a safe location, cause you're not getting paid for it.
Unfortunately, that is a statewide problem, and I would venture to say it's probably a nationwide problem. Because we were talking with CDOT, this was last year, we were talking about like early 2024. And Denver's had a lot of issues with that. They are underinsured and could be a fly-by-night trucking company.
Typically, just my experience, that's what it was.
And so they leave it and they walk away. And tow companies, unfortunately, because had a meeting with other tow companies, they're taking the hit on these. And you're talking, 50, 60,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
Cause I took just my experience, I took a skid steer down there, had, rented and everything, and 3 guys and closing a little bit of traffic to be safe, and you get burned on it. They
Yeah.
only pay you for the tractor and a trailer, and that's it. And I even delivered the cargo for him. So it's, his insurance told me, oh, he's covered. And when it got time to write the check, all of a sudden he wasn't covered. So I get burned on those.
I'd like to say I could solve that problem. I really think that's an industry issue right now that, yes.
That's another thing that we can talk to some of our state and federal reps about, making sure that, those types of coverage are required, or part of it, or the other thing too is to create mechanisms for tow operators to recover costs in court. Which is nobody likes, but it's better than not getting paid at all.
Well, yeah.
It really does depend on the cargo, because the town has been quite happy to help with some of the cargo.
We're in.
Well, we had that lumber truck that went, it was tight. I went through the next day, it was helpful citizens were out there, so.
They had ski masks.
I shove it in my stores.
I was gonna talk about what's going through here. He spills, I remember a couple of our guys helped pick it up. And I even gave him straps to restrap. It was just an unsecured load because they onions move a lot. And then I had 40, 50-pound bags of onions I got stuck in there. And I asked, the town could have fed the town for a year. I ended up donating them to the food bank because that's the only body
Good idea.
Yeah.
that take them before they went bad.
Yeah.
And they, of course, their phone got disconnected, couldn't get a hold of the guy.
Onion rings for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, you got something coming up on 4th of July, you can throw that in.
You guys have any other concerns or, things that we can talk about, or?
Sounds like a lot of it's gonna solve itself pretty quick.
I'm really hoping with Montrose being back in its center, even for us, and even for the dispatchers that are working out of it. I mean, they're working out of the CDOT conference room is where they are. So they are displaced. And
It's maybe early, but you know how many folks we might have for Iron Horse this year?
a lot. So,
A lot?
no, a lot of visitors, not a lot of us.
I know we're gonna have a lot of.
Yeah. I was talking to Trevor about that, briefly, looking at
No,
maybe.
Not the Iron Horse bicycle race in May, not the rally.
Oh, okay,
That's
but we
true.
were talking about the Iron Horse, the bicycle race.
Trevor's involved in that?
Oh, no, I apologize.
Yeah.
I need to keep track of my other
Towards
things.
the end of summer.
Yes, we're looking at some stuff for that. I'm trying to get the motorcycle unit to come down for that part. So that'll be good. For Iron Horse, we're starting to have pre-meetings, yes.
Mhm.
I don't know when our next one is yet, just trying to get the paperwork started on those. It'll be very busy. We have a lot of construction going on in over there in Pagosa, which there was another race that was gonna come through there, so it may displace some things.
Mhm.
We're, have a meeting later this month, I believe on the 26th in Pagosa about Highway 160. They're doing, it'll be huge. And it's gonna be a mess. So, it's gonna move some races around, I think.
Yeah, part of it, is just that they shut the highway down, so that happens every year and everybody plans
Yeah.
for it. It's a given every year
Yeah.
that the highway's gonna be closed.
So we're 50 years old now, so we're pretty used to it, but
Yeah.
Did you feel like there was, during the Iron Horse motorcycle rally, or whatever they call it, there was more violations going on? That from here to Durango was the most skid marks I've seen from there. That's the most I've ever seen was this
So the
year.
year, just a year where the year prior was a very rowdy, difficult scene. We actually had someone that was seriously hurt, had to be helicoptered out because of someone's shenanigans making those marks in the top of Coleman. So we hit it hard. We actually, much credit to Under Sheriff Lawrence. He put a lot of time and energy into tracing down those culprits who we tried to chase down that day, but ran from them. And one of them is, two of them turned on the other, one of them's in felony charges, still in court now.
Is that right? Wow.
And so we've utilized that incident and Trevor and Chip, who run the rally, have been extremely helpful. Put out a lot of good messaging. Last year we ran it, prior to the event. I'm sure you were involved in some of those conversations. We were really hitting it hard and making sure that they know, they give them outlets to act like a bonehead on a motorcycle. Don't do it on public roadways.
Sure, because you're
So,
endangering the public, not just themselves, but the public.
So last year was actually better. We still got some of that marking on the highway, and we still had some incidents here and there, but it was, I would say, significant improvement, and we're hoping to do
Oh,
that
good.
again this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and on that, we're looking to try to have our motorcycle units to come out here to work specifically between Silverton and Durango area.
That's a good idea.
So I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee. I don't have power over that, but we're trying to get them out here.
But we'll have at least one or two out there from here.
Nice. Because for those for the motorcycle rallies, you really need motorcycles. For cars trying to get turned around, it's,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're too fast.
so. On that, when we were talking about staffing, I have one in FTO right now, so that gives me 13.
All right.
And with Stephanie, who does VIN, so she's part-time working the road. So really I have 12 troopers, and that's for my entire district. So please know that's what we have. Okay, so when we have extended ETAs, it's just because of that.
What would you consider full staffing?
Over 20.
Wow.
So please,
Never seen it this thing.
so say, let's go for tomorrow, 5C out of Montrose. Rick Dunlap passed away, and he'd been, he served 3 terms as sheriff. His son is one of our master sergeants in Montrose. So I'm gonna be working over here so I can work with their road so they can attend the services. I mean, we're just short.
I haven't seen when those services were announced.
I got ours. It is Thursday.
It's coming
Yes, it was fast. Yeah, the 12th, at 11.
tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Thank you. Is it tomorrow? The 12th?
That's sure.
Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow.
They normally put out a request for officers, so are they doing a full on?
Yeah, be PDS, because his grandson works for the PD. So it'll be all of those working. So I said I will take coverage for over here for state troopers, so that they're able to attend services. So trust me, we want to do more things. It's just, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to complain that I don't have enough people, but it's logistically, it is what it is.
No,
I know how. hard it is
everyone's
to-
in the same boat.
Yeah.
Nobody
You got
has
a
enough.
pretty heavy hiring campaign right now. You can't hire fast enough and can't get them
The
here.
need
fast
is
enough.
everywhere. It
Yeah.
really is. The need is everywhere, and our mission keeps growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I would love more people.
No doubt.
What else
Well-
do you have?
I think that's about it, you guys.
Got anything for us? Anything we can do better for you guys?
No, just like on the toes, that just apply with everything that, you have to do. Not really worried about stuff with that, just, I think, as you said, once we get our comms back and you're under one, it's gonna be a lot, because then you can just hear. you'll be able to hear what's going on.
Plus you're dealing with the same.
Yeah.
Every time you make a call,
It's definitely really helpful to have the troopers working in our area on the same airwaves as we are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cause yeah, it just creates a lot of confusion. We don't need middleman conversations. It can be convoluted.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to come sit with us.
Yeah, that's
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, oh, good.
Yeah. Hope to see you guys soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily want to see.
Austin last night.
Oh, yeah. Probably. Yeah. Thank both of you. You're done.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We introduced everyone, but I'm Austin Lashley and Pete Michael.
We hope to see you again without your lights behind me.
He loves tasers.
Yeah.
Say a thank you to the sheriff because
Yeah,
I was.
I'm kind of partial to those.
Because I got some Montreal. My husband's a trooper over there. So when I got promoted, so I live in Durango during my work week, and sometimes I go home. But I was headed back and I was in my vehicle, made a stop.
So it's in the shop.
He wouldn't leave. He followed me to Silverton until just.
I gotta hurry that.
I pulled over to let cars go around because I was going to slower.
Yeah.
And he pulled in behind me and it was like, I felt like, it was a weird situation. So I pulled him back up and San Juan County deputy comes flying up. So it was really, it was really good because I couldn't use my pack set out there.
Yeah.
I got lost signal. So that was really good. You guys are good.
They're used to it because it's, you're either by yourself or whoever else you can raise on the radio.
Cause I had it all filled up.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah, we're at commissioner and staff report, so you're here for your staff report.
You could kind of run through it really fast. I gotta get to the
Sure.
post office, do
Yeah.
certified mailings before you leave, and I leave
Yeah.
at 3:30.
Yeah,
And I'm not gonna be here tomorrow or the next day, but I'm available by phone or email if.
Yeah. Do you wanna come sit up at the table just so we're conversation? Just so we can hear each other a little better. I assume we're talking about insurance.
That's what I'm hoping.
Okay, all right, yeah, it was
I
on.
was just curious as to what you guys decided.
Yeah,
You
sure.
called this morning and I was like,
It's on our
well,
list.
I haven't talked about it yet. It's a
Yeah.
long meeting day and we're just kind of snuck this one in, so.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to email or call him and let him know,
Yeah.
so he can start getting me the paperwork.
Yeah.
That I need for different situations.
Pete and I were there for the second half of the meeting yesterday. You were probably there for the first half too. But-
Yeah.
Well, he met for the Medicare part and I
Yeah,
didn't
Sal
catch you
was there.
before you left,
And you,
but
yeah, you were-
they stayed for all the employees.
Well, yeah, I didn't hear back one way or the other from any employee, other than what we had the discussion in the meeting.
Yeah, I think that's probably, everybody's pretty,
Yeah, everybody was there, so,
right,
yeah, except for Becky.
right, and she, I would assume, has the same opinions as everybody else.
Yeah. I think with this, armed with the same information as we have now, I think she would be, I think she would be advocating for the full benefit. We're gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, everybody's gonna advocate for the full benefits. To catch you up
So,
kind of quickly,
Okay,
this is how much the county is currently paying per month
okay.
for all of our insurance. That includes mainly just employees and my daughter, and then I pay for my daughter's piece out of my check, but that's what the county cuts
Every month.
every month to
Sizable,
Anthem Blue Cross. That doesn't count health or dental.
okay.
With what Ryan, our new guy, is recommending, who you met yesterday. He says it saves us enough money by taking you 4 off and putting you on Medicare. And by trying to pull in the family members who are younger, like our kids and spouses. That this is the cost that the county would have to pay for health insurance. If all of those family members came on and the county paid for the family portion at 100%, this is what the county would pay monthly, just for health. Then if you did like 100% for the employee and only 70% for the family, this is the amount that it would be. So we discussed multiple options and that's what you guys will be talking about. And then he gave a little breakdown. I was like, in network, out of network, our current out of network max out of pocket is $21,000. Like if you end up needing care when you're on a travel situation or something like that. But the new plan will be 7,000. So it helped us out. Deductible is a little bit higher than what we currently have. Currently, our in-network deductible is 3,000. This plan will be 3,500. For me, it's 6,000. For families, it would be 7,000, but in this plan, if I meet my deductible, they'll still pay anything above the $3,500 and then Rylan can work up to hers.
Hmm.
Versus currently I have to meet the whole family deductible before they pay
Okay.
anything. So this is the rate breakdown, again, with the 100%, which you'd be paying per employee. If you add a spouse, add children. People with extra children are lucky because that doesn't matter if it's 1 children or 10. And then if you do the whole entire family, and then this is that same stuff at 100% and 70%.
And then the in-network, out-of-network thing.
Yeah, 21,000 versus 7, I told them that.
Okay.
And then this is how much you would be paying per month to altogether, it'd be about this much per employee. To each of you guys that you'll get reimbursed for
Okay.
Part B, Part G, Part D, and that skilled nursing that he talked to you about.
Yeah.
So that's the grand total that would come to the county. So even with that, it's still a pretty big savings for the county, whichever way you decide to go. And then also, he said, like, if we have a really good year where nobody uses or has anything like really major surgeries, it's all outpatient or just regular typical stuff. That the county could get a check back at the end of each cycle, anywhere from 45,000 below. So obviously, if you don't use it at all, we'll get the 45,000. If you have people that use it or have surgeries, it might be as low as 10 years, but you'll get a check back at the end of the year. So more savings.
From an insurance company?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I can't remember the term he used,
Yeah.
but it's kind of half
It's a semi-self-insured.
semi-self-insured.
Yeah, he's got a term for it.
Huh.
I can't remember the
I've
term
never
he
heard
used
of that,
for it
so,
either.
Okay.
Then dental, vision, life, which you guys will still be on if you want to be or eligible to be on. Is going up just a little bit, and these are the cost breakdown for each situation for the dental, the vision.
We do life insurance.
We do life, and it's currently like 15,000.
15,000, but his life
his
insurance
is
would be
50, and it's for a
50.
very similar price. So this one will go up a little tiny
Which is
bit.
actually something.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had life insurance.
You do,
I
yes.
really did not know.
And then the
So
dental,
this
the
one
other,
would go up by a little bit. I wanna say he said it's like $200 or $300 a month. But way better coverage, like currently our dental plan, you have a max of like $2,000 you can use in a year,
You can use that with 1 crown.
right?
Yeah.
And this plan has like nothing, so I know multiple employees were really excited about that because a lot of them are having root canals or major work done.
Sure.
And then excuse me, this is a similar price. He said if you wanted the like 1-to-1 of what we have now to this, you could do that. It's just for a little bit more, you get way better product or service for all the employees. Anyway, that's the quick down and dirty of what we went over.
It's just looking like a better deal.
Yeah.
All the way around.
Look on the second page where the rate breakdown is on the bottom. Employee 100%, employee family 100%, and then at 70%, those numbers don't.
That's the
I'm
same number.
missing something because.
So you're already paying the 1029.51, so that's not gonna change no matter what. So and I don't know if this is what I would pay. I think this is what I would pay, so
I was thinking it was what the county would pay, but I'm not.
so like on the add a spouse, it's 1585, but the employee would pay 475.
Hmm.
Because that's the 30% of. So you would pay whatever the difference is, like 1585 minus the 475. That's what the employee would pay for their spouse if you do it at the 70% level. And so like for children, I would pay 293 out of pocket and you would pay
Okay, yeah.
600 and something
Yeah,
for her.
it doesn't, the way it's written out,
Doesn't make
But
sense.
We're not paying for spouses right now.
we're
No,
not paying for spouses.
he's recommending that,
It makes our plan overall a little bit cheaper because having spouses and children in
brings our rate down.
brings our risk rate down overall.
Hmm.
So if we're able to pull in families into the pool, then it lowers the overall cost.
So he's saying since we're saving
Even though
enough,
we pulled more people in, the cost is.
the
still-
cost goes down.
It actually makes more people in the vet.
The cost goes
Cheaper
up,
again.
The
but
cost
the cost per person goes down.
goes down. our overall cost would go up.
Right, like by how much?
Well, it's still less than what we're currently paying, that's the thing.
Still better than we are paying
So
now.
if you paid 100% of everybody who applied or put their kid's name on there and everybody did put spouses and kids except for like Steve, whose kid's got a special situation, and Becky Joyce did not add her kids in Paul, but I know she would
Right,
if she sees these numbers. But if you paid 100% for everybody who put people on there, and like Amy put her husband, Mike put his wife or girlfriend / wife, Austin put his wife and kid, that's still the total cost. If you paid 100% for all of us.
also, it's still 3,000 cheaper
Yes.
than what we're doing with Anthony Ross and not getting these benefits.
Right.
And if we picked up just 70% of the employee, or the 100%
Whole
of the
family.
employee,
And
70%
70%,
of the spouse or children.
that's the total cost
It's,
to the county.
17, just under 17,000 a month.
Okay,
And then the possibility of getting that money back at the end still. No matter what you do, that's
Sure.
gonna happen if we go with this.
no matter what, it's
It's a
still.
way better deal than what we're doing now.
So way better deal, employees are super excited, especially employees like me in my
At
situation.
least one employee.
I know Tim and Jim are
Exactly.
excited because they're planning on putting Evan on it, and they have a better situation to go back as a family versus right now they're split because of that deductible situation. But for them, now with 3 people on, they only have to meet 7,000 tops, and then everything will be paid
Right.
for versus 10,500.
Yeah, instead of one person.
Right.
Having the 7.
And like,
three
say-
people, 7,000.
Say someone had, we'll say the Joyces put both of their kids on there, it's still one cost, so they would pay for their 2 kids the same that I paid
Oh,
for Riley, or you guys would pay the same for their 2 kids, the same as I pay for Riley, because it doesn't matter if it's 1 kid or 10 kids. It's the same cost. So anyway, all the employees were advocating for, of course, for you guys to pay as much as possible and put more money in our HSA. But I just told Ryan, after you guys discuss this, I would let him know, because there's some paperwork that Willie will have to sign, depending on what plan or which way we go, we'll have to fill out some paperwork. Ryan will, and then Willie will have to sign, and then you and Willie, my mom,
We still gotta
he
fill our things out.
will have to, he said he can help you guys and I'll help my mom, but there's a certificate of coverage that you'll need to have that showed you had coverage up until a certain point,
Right,
that we need to get from him from Blue Cross. Once we sever that,
right.
so that you guys can upload it into
Yeah,
your
so there's no gap in coverage.
Medicare, and so
Yeah.
that's what opens the enrollment
gap.
for you guys, is the special enrollment period, so there's letters he needs to get to you guys. So we need to know, number 1, what you guys wanna do, but number 2, whether you wanna try a start date of March 1st, cause if we do March 1st, obviously. It's more time, not more time constraint, and my mom has not paid for March yet for Anthem Blue Cross. So,
Oh, she's, well, can we get all this done?
so all the paperwork's already done,
We
except for,
just have to do our.
yeah, you just have,
We have
I
to do
mean.
Medicare.
All the individual employee paperwork is already done. You guys gotta do your Medicare, and he said
Is
he
that
would,
just a form we fill out or a form you guys will fill out?
well, you
for us?
will fill that
We'll
out.
fill.
That's individual per you,
It's
your
homework
information.
for us, Scott.
Ryan
Okay.
said he will help you guys if you
Unfortunately.
need help,
Okay,
but then since you gotta go to ssa.gov and make a account. And then it's based on your social security number.
You gotta have an SSA.
Did you do it yet?
Account.
have you done it?
I've done it for both my
I
dad.
know.
I did it for
Well,
my
I-
dad and then I did it for my mom for part A.
I don't have.
It walks you right through it, and then,
Really?
No.
but there will be a place that says enroll me.
Old school,
And you don't, it's
yeah,
not
never
open
need it.
enrollment, so they're gonna tell you no,
But
unless you have
it's
this
smart to have
special
one.
situation,
Yeah.
that letter is gonna prompt that special situation.
Better than dealing.
So I'm not sure how
How do you tell you got the-
you'll upload it,
Anything's better than them.
Unless you have to.
We'll upload it into your account. And Ryan can help you guys with that, and you'll do that
Yeah,
for my mom.
I might not
That's different.
even know how to do that.
You'll have to save it to your computer and attach it as a file.
Okay.
But first, I would start all of you guys by getting that account set up, because it's a whole process, and you have to have an ssa.gov,
Go.
yes,
We
and then
should be starting on. that.
SA, what's it again?
ssa.gov. And so set up your accounts, you're gonna have to make an ID.me account for it, I believe, because that's all new with the federal government.
I will say, you're in the system whether you think so or not. because
Oh,
you're a
yeah.
Taxpayer.
Yeah, so once you
Right.
put your
So
social
whether you're
security
enrolled
number
or
and
not.
verify you are who you are,
Right.
all
Yeah.
your past wages and all that will pull through.
Sure.
And so you'll see everything and it'll tell you like, it'll even tell you like what you'll start doing if you started taking social security at this point in time. It'll give you the number and all that. But you're wanting to apply for part A and part B.
You've already got part A, probably, Scott.
No, he didn't.
Oh,
Him and Willie don't.
well, you want to.
Yeah, they
You
got.
get penalized if you
You
don't
do
have
have to pay or apply for part A and B. You just need to apply for B.
B.
I never.
As long as you're on a group plan, you don't, that's why you need that.
That letter will.
That's
prompt
why you
that for
need that letter that said you were part of a group.
And then
Okay.
Ryan will, for all of you guys, do what, if you're agreeable to what you recommended as far as your supplemental and your prescription plan, Ryan will take care of that for all of you. And then you guys who were not actually drawing social security will have to pay the Social Security Administration. They charge you quarterly for your part B, which I think is $185 a month, so you'll have to pay that times 3. And then my mom will in a sense reimburse that to you guys, but
Yeah,
So
we get
you'll-
reimbursed it. That's-
yeah, you'll have to pay for your part B, your supplemental, which is the Omaha that he recommended. Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah.
And then if there was a cost on the part D, which is a prescription, but I don't think anybody had a cost, I think it was 0, other than your out-of-pocket stuff
Right.
that happens later. So you will pay those yourself, so you'll write the checks or have it automatically
Scott,
drawn.
did you get his card?
Yeah, I did.
And
Okay.
then you will bring those bills to my mom and she will reimburse you for them.
Okay.
So you'll get reimbursed at 100% as long as you're a part of the county, and then when you're on your own, it'll become your thing. Once you start pulling your social security money, that part B comes automatically out of that,
Okay.
and you won't have to pay that anymore, but until that point in time, you have to write a check to the feds.
Okay.
Um,
I need to get on that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if it's gonna, like I said, if you want like an April 1st start date, we gotta get on stuff, March 1st start date, you need to. And he, for the
You wanna
Medicare
wait
people,
till
he
we
said
hear
it's
from the
not
rest of the
as
employees before we vote on this?
time constrictive because he can retroactive you.
Okay.
And so you'll be fine until March 1st, but we just gotta get those
Becky Rhodes.
papers rolling so you can get your stuff.
Daughter was here.
All the employees have already filled
Yeah,
out all the.
I don't know.
paperwork.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm just saying,
So,
yeah,
all we have to do is the
I'm for it.
the
I mean, I don't wanna talk for every employee.
yeah, no.
county insurance paperwork.
What do you think about that,
To get it
Willie?
going.
So, what was your question?
Yeah, I was asking, Mr. Chairman, if we have enough consensus to vote on this, or do we need to hear from more employees?
And I was just trying to think of who else wasn't there yesterday besides Becky Joyce,
Becky Joyce wasn't there and
Becky
Amy,
Rhodes. Amy and Rob.
her, worker, and none of the cops were
We
there.
can vote on it.
Yeah, I mean.
But I guarantee you, they're all gonna have.
Okay,
Yeah.
To be honest, what, the meeting yesterday was a courtesy meeting.
it was a courtesy, yeah, we can
I
still,
mean,
okay,
you as the commissioners can say. This is what your
Okay.
insurance is, take it or leave it.
Right.
And no matter what we do here, it's gonna be a huge
Savings.
improvement over what we had in the past for the employee.
with a live representative that we could.
Yeah, that's the other thing, if you have any kind of problems or questions, you can call Ryan
Yeah,
and, or his,
Better.
and
his,
she'll tell you, we didn't have somebody live to talk to before.
yeah.
Ryan's,
we have
Ryan's
somebody
office
live.
will call and fight about hospital bills with the bill.
Yeah, so like Ryan
Exactly.
spent
You
hours
use them
a week
to-
fighting about.
you
stuff
use them
my
for years, right?
Personal things, the insurance,
I mean, I think it's
he
no
will do that
brainer.
on your
Yeah.
behalf
Nice.
if you want him to.
The one other thing too here is that this rate per employee that we have on the breakdown, if the spouses and children do not sign up on it, he's quoted it as everything. It was too difficult and onerous to quote it both ways, but he said we could expect this to go up 5 to 10% if we don't have the coverage for those other spouses and
Yeah,
children on
so
there.
We don't have the number.
if all the employees opt to not put their spouse.
He didn't have the numbers till we give him the numbers.
It's gonna go up a little
So,
bit.
yeah,
But-
so I mean, right now, the employee would be 1,029. I mean, is what he's showing in best case,
Yeah,
if.
If everybody dropped off and that's all you
If we
had.
don't have younger, healthier people, that rate would go up to probably $1,100 a month.
Still gonna be a savings,
So,
but it could be a little more.
yeah,
and I think it's a good idea. To me, yesterday at the meeting, I said, I think our real decision here is between, do we have the county cover families at 100%, or do we have the county cover families at 70%? That to me is our decision that we kind of need to talk about and make here.
And
if-
Kim Buck
of course,
did bring
everyone
up-
with families is going to say that they would like to have their families covered at 100%. The only other person kind of, you know, that we might lose, I think, by having it at 100% versus 70% is, I think, Rusty's kids would be.
Yeah, if you don't do 100%, I'm sure Rusty will find a different situation for his kids, but you will add
But we'll
probably
add
Becky's kids, so it
Becky's
should
kids and Paul, so it'll probably
probably
be
equal out.
a wash, but just, you know. Just do we feel that the county's in a financial position to pay for the 100% family contribution there, and then do we feel like there is some potential benefit that we could offer by only offering 70% to some of the folks who do not have spouses or children that would be included in this. And Kim made a great point too, that it's a really great added benefit to working for the county if your family could be included at.
For recruitment
It's a
recruitment
huge
purposes, since
recruitment.
we have a really hard time finding
bonus.
staff.
But
And then I know the
Yeah.
employees are also hoping that you might fund the HSA accounts
yeah, a little.
a little more than, or
$100.
where if you're
It's
doing,
under-
you're doing
it's
125 right now. But that's not even half of the current deductible, and this deductible will be going up.
And we could, if we did the 70% contribution, potentially fund HSA more to help make up for that difference, but like, does it really make sense to at that point, you know?
Well, I think it does to a certain extent,
Yeah,
because, and you had a little grumbling from some of the people that don't have
Kids.
from
spouses.
one person who doesn't have kids,
But
he represents a real demographic.
Yeah.
It's a little-
Chrissy doesn't speak up, but I guarantee you she had the same feeling, you know, she doesn't have a spouse, she doesn't have kids.
Sure, Matthew doesn't
So-
speak up, but he
Yeah,
doesn't speak
same.
up also.
So I mean,
Same situation.
I kind of, I mean, and I haven't really, because we just got the numbers, I haven't really played with them. You know, kind of what I would see is 70%, but then double the health savings account from 125 to 250.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
And I know the elected
That's kinda
officials
wise.
would be super thankful since we don't get raises for 4 years. So they would be thankful for any kind of help. With the cost of inflation and rising.
And you know, and I think. I mean, I think it's good that everybody actually has a little skin in the game.
yeah,
Because then they're a little bit more aware of. What their costs and expenses are, and you know, I think we're minimizing that pretty well. And you know, talking about getting the refund back, you know, it's based on use. If
Yeah, I like that
So-
idea, yeah.
you know, so, you know, after a year or two, we see, you know, we're getting 20,000 a year, well, then, you know, maybe we can bump things up some more if, you know,
We're
We've
down
got
to
a
the
bunch
5 or
we've
10.
got a bunch of sick people.
Or a bunch of people on workers'
And all
comp or
we're,
whatever,
and
yeah.
all we're seeing is our rates skyrocketing, you know,
Yeah.
then we may have to back off on that.
And like Ryan said, you know, this is renewable every year and he'll look at numbers and he may recommend a different plan.
It's
Next
just-
year, it just depends on,
It's just hard to take away benefits once.
it is,
Once they're in
Yeah.
place.
but it
Yeah.
happens.
And,
But I'm not even talking about the benefits, but like even just the plan, like, you know, something could change when the insurance world, I mean, when I worked for the town of Pagosa, sometimes they increase like 25%. This year with Anthem, it was only like a 4% increase, I think.
Yeah.
But still, you know, you just never
this year it
know.
was 4%, but we've had some previous.
Oh,
years
yeah,
where it was
yeah.
Way higher.
Yeah.
So you just never know, so next year, he might come back and say, oh, well, this isn't the best plan for you anymore, it might be a different plan.
Yeah.
Not talking about like what we cover.
and so just to give you an idea. At the 70%, 100% employees, 70%. And that's not the health savings account or the dental and, vision, that's $202,000.
That times 12.
And it's at 100%, for both, it's like 272,000. So, I mean. We're contributing a substantial amount.
Right.
And do the 25, whatever we're paying now, what's that times 12?
It would be probably 300,000.
So if we kept on
So
the
the
same
original
path.
plan is 300, we'll just round it up.
Yeah,
to
so
300.
you're saving around $100,000.
If you do the 70%.
I have one other idea for HSA stuff too. I think, in addition to upping the coverage, or in lieu of upping. What we do as contributions for the county, we can match an amount, up to a certain amount for contributions for HSA. And that way we could really put some folks, who are family into a better situation for HSA funding as well. If we
We're already doing the match on the retirement, right?
Yeah, 3%.
But, okay, so I just wanna.
so if we did say, we have $125 contribution or $120 contribution,
Yeah, should.
I
can go to more.
but we match up to, another. Or we could raise it up, and say, hey, we're gonna do $200 in contribution, but we'll match you up to, another 150. So that way, potentially you can get up to $500. In like a month in a contribution. And then but the county would be paying for half of that. So the counties will be paying for,
You're
$350 of it.
You're kind of doing double things, because you're adding 100.
Well,
plus you're also
The
adding
max depends on the situation. I know for it's family or not, it's individual or family. And it changes every year. Currently, 2025, the max you can put into an HSA is $8,300 if you're under 55. If you're over 55, you get an extra $1,000. So you can put in $9,300. Last year it was less. And the family,
But for an individual, it's less, right?
yeah, the
For
individual's about
40,000.
half of that, I wanna say. So like individual maxes out at four something, I don't know what it is, and a family maxes out at 8,300. But again, that family doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 15 people, it's still 8,300 is all you can put in there.
Yeah,
So, but
I'll explain the goal I was
I've-
trying to get to, is trying
I've
to get to a
maxed mine
point where
out
we can.
and used it all plus.
We can help people get to their family max of contribution for their HSA to help make up for the deductible that they'll be paying. So with them having some more skin in the game, of course.
So, yeah, the 250 times 12 gets you up to 3,000.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's.
Pretty close.
Pretty close
Yeah,
to the maximum.
'Cause the
maximum's 35.
Well, the deductible for individuals 3,500, but for
For
those with
family.
families, it's 7,000. But that's 7,000 again, whether it's
So
2 or 10.
it gives you, at the 250, it gives you pretty close to the max for an individual.
Yeah.
But if the county matches for family, for other contributions that you get up to a certain point, then it can allow, or the families to get closer to their contribution levels and help pay for a little bit of deductible, if they're willing to contribute themselves to the HSA.
I
But
personally tried
maybe
to
we're
write-
making this overly complicated
Yeah,
for our
it
first
sounds
year
like
doing
it.
this, but for the first.
Why don't we make a decision on whether we're doing it? Let her, that way you can get a hold of Ryan and start the ball rolling there.
Yeah,
And then like you said, we can do some changes if we need to.
I kind of do lean with Willie though, that we start this a little conservatively at first, that if we commit to 100% contribution for
No, I
families
think
right now,
that
it makes it really hard for us to say we can't afford this and we're gonna go back to a 70% contribution.
I'd start with 70, right?
I think so. I would love to say, yeah, we can do it, but I'm just afraid of what that might look like in 2 years or.
No, and
No, start at 70.
I fully understand that, but again, anything
Anything is better.
Anything.
better than
Yeah.
nothing.
Start at 70.
My family's gonna sign up to do this just to have all that same deductible and things like that, even though honestly, we could probably make our insurance a little bit cheaper than that. Than having my daughter and wife on here, we'll still do this, because it'll be better insurance than we would have.
Yeah. What do you think?
I guess,
Yeah,
the,
and then,
We need a vote on it?
well, the other question we need to answer, and we really didn't talk about it, but the dental and the vision, employee only.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
For
mean, that,
coverage but you can still sign it, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's.
Is that what he quoted?
has the county included dental and vision in the past? And I
For
just
the
haven't signed up
employee,
for it?
yeah.
Yes, for the employee, we've always had
Oh,
dental.
really? And I've just never
Oh,
signed it.
really? I didn't know that either.
I didn't know it either. I thought I had to pay for
You
it.
don't have Kansas City Life?
I have the life insurance portion, but not the.
That's
dental.
the, yeah, it's all,
Dental and-
it's all together.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
so-
And then, yeah,
I don't-
VSP for,
Kansas City Life.
it's gonna change now, but,
Yeah.
and you had VSP
The
for,
only thing I've had to do in the last 4 years is my 2 teeth cleanings a year, so it's not like I'm missing out.
But
on
it will
some
save
huge
you,
benefit.
it will save you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a
So-
yeah.
so I get
And
this
it's
straight.
affordable.
You're gonna do the 70% on just the health and then only the employee on
On
the
dental
Humana
vision
stuff.
health.
And then everybody can sign their families up for that still, but it's totally,
Yeah,
okay. Just so I can tell
And I
Ryan,
think
so
that's
he,
kind of how.
that's how he had it set up,
Ryan
yeah,
presented
because that's
it.
fairly cheap anyways.
Yeah.
And we're getting a better
Yeah.
situation for everybody there.
And we'll bump up the.
The HSA contribution.
HSA to
Yeah.
250.
Yeah.
Somebody wanna make a,
Motion and a vote,
I'll make that motion.
and I'll second
You'll
it.
have to write what the motion is, but I'll make the motion.
I think we made it pretty clear, so, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys very
There
much.
you go.
I will pass it along to
Yeah, tell Ryan, thank you.
Ryan and I'll work with him. I'll be gone the next 2 days, but I can work with him via email and phone on the stuff that we need to get done.
Thank you for
We
your
have
work
a
on this.
and if you can make this happen.
March 1st.
March 1st, fine.
We're holiday Monday, but other than that, I think we're pretty good. So once I'll call him right now as soon as I walk out and then he can email me the paperwork and I can email forward what I need to
And
you.
then just have him tell, for us old folks, what needs to.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have, you guys will probably have to work with him individually for that.
We need some tutelage.
It just.
Don't send me in and she'll look at it, all right? It's not in it.
I can help also, like if you need help,
I call it hand-holding.
because I've done it for my dad and my mom
Tell
and
me
my
how to
uncle.
create a
and-
file and. send it.
Ryan's got it down too, you can.
Yeah,
call him.
but
Totally.
Ryan can help you walk through it, but if you really get
Yeah.
stuck somewhere, I'm
Okay,
in town, I
okay.
can help you.
Ryan will fill out the forms for you if you call him.
Right, but you really have to do theirs online,
Okay.
and they have to have an IDMe account and they have to have a SSA.gov account, so start there.
We got
If
some
you have
homework to do.
questions, call Ryan.
Have you guys dealt with two-factor authentication yet?
Oh, you're gonna have to with this if you don't,
What is that?
so,
Exactly, I don't know what that
so for
is.
IDMe.
We're
it's
showing our age, aren't we?
Through the website, I mean, through the beds, you have to have a
Yeah.
username, or you have to have an email address. And then you have to verify you are who you are.
How do you
And then you'll have a username and password. Well, sometimes it's your social
Blood.
security number, your driver's license. Sometimes you,
Blood
depending on the
sample.
entity, you've got to get on there with your face and they scan your face. Like my face is
I'm
the,
not letting them scan my face.
yes, you will, if you want to get your social
It's-
security.
It's like social security number.
You do,
and
it's a one-time thing.
Stuff. It's
My
not a big
face is
deal.
on everything to do with this.
There's some things
It's
that I'm actually surprised as the chairman, you didn't have to use IDD for some of these signing things.
Really?
Cause some of the sign stuff that I have to do online for social services and things like that, I have to use my IDD.
Yeah, well, it's all pretty new that they're just going to all this. I didn't used to have to use IDMe except for like sam.gov, but now it's
Another
everything.
way to
We're showing our age, Scott.
Yeah,
Well, essentially what will happen
There's
is
another
when
one,
you
too.
log on, you put in your password and your email, and they will send you a text message with.
With a code. I do that.
Oh, yeah.
I do that when I go onto my
This-
SJ Con.
yeah.
this
So-
authenticator is another one of those, the yellow.
Yeah.
Guitar
I haven't
pick
seen
looking
that, but
thing, or orange guitar pick.
I've been having those codes sent to my phone.
So they'll either text you or email you a code and you'll have to put it in. And it's just again to make sure that you are who you are, because there's so much
Yeah.
fraud out there.
And a lot of times you have to have the actual app. on your
Yeah,
phone,
depending on
Depending on which one it is.
social security, you don't have to have an app,
There
they
you
just
go.
text you,
Yeah.
but.
But yeah, it's another one of those.
That's what,
Yeah,
that's
what
what
it is.
Google does that, I have to use.
Yeah,
I have to use the code.
Yeah, so start that process if you can sooner than later, and then Ryan will get you that letter I was telling you about.
Okay,
And that will have to be uploaded so that you guys all get the open enrollment to happen and he can walk you through.
I'll have you
All the
send
rest.
them the letter.
If you really don't want it to go via the mail, I guarantee you, Ryan can help you upload it though, I'm sure, or he
Okay,
can send
no,
it.
somebody will show me.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, you just save it in.
Scott's face ID is gonna be the Bill Clinton mask.
All right, anything else for me?
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys.
working
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, thanks for working on it.
Yeah, this is, well, it's a big savings for the county and a big benefit to the employees.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really like Ryan, so,
And I'm gonna tell them about Alpine Bank, but you don't need to stay for that.
okay, if you have questions, let me know.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're moving over to it, so,
Just for the one warrant situation.
yeah.
Okay, let me just.
Oh, we are.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
It's
and
okay, I'll just take these to the.
this
mail
this is the second part, because I'm not gonna bore you with the board,
Yeah.
the boredom. of
Sorry, I
PCI,
forgot
but-
about that part, cause I was all excited about
We
it.
did a training yesterday for Alpine Bank, so mostly for bills and warrants and bill pay, we're gonna be switching over to the Alpine Bank system probably in April or May. Is what it looked like,
Yeah, it's gonna
More
take some
efficient.
time to set up, so the warrants are going away.
for them, it'll be.
So my mom won't have to physically print out the warrant checks every single month and stamp them with your guys' names on them. She'll just take a file out of QuickBooks. It'll upload into an online file in Alpine Bank and they'll send out all the bills.
Really? Wow,
Yes,
that's great.
Technology.
That's a big savings in time.
huge.
Oh.
One caveat for that is though that
Here we go.
both of you will have to go to direct deposit.
No. It's gonna happen.
You have no
Oh, I
choice.
gotta go to direct deposit?
Cause we're not gonna have we're not gonna have those warrants anymore. And so
That's no big deal.
we would have to do a whole separate weird system to,
We'll
make it
have a
happen.
Separate weird system.
no.
You hate
So-
direct
I
deposit?
just,
Will
I
it?
just need to give you. an
You don't like
account.
that?
Yeah, so between now, I mean, it's not gonna be a huge rush, but
Oh, okay.
it's gonna happen. So the sooner
You
that
don't
you
care,
get my
do you?
mom the direct deposit
Yeah.
information, the better.
Eventually.
You two are the only two that get checks, everybody else has direct
I did
deposit.
not
already.
know that. I just love getting a check.
So, yes, with that system, direct deposit is becoming a necessity and you no longer have an
Get
option.
your paycheck and you go to the bank.
Otherwise, you have to wait for it to get mailed out of wherever Alpine
It
Bank's
gives me
headquarters
something
are.
to do once a month.
You can still walk out of the bank and go take cash out.
You don't have to walk to the bank for anything else.
But yeah, so that's gonna happen, what is this, February, I'm hoping April, May timeframe.
I'll get on it.
They'll actually come up here and train us on how to do it, first couple rounds that we do it.
Alpine Bank's a good choice.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen with this, if, at the beginning, everybody's just gonna get checks, because that's just how it's gonna be. But as time goes on, they can sign up for ACH and direct deposit themselves, so that they don't even have to worry about a check coming in the mail. And we can just automate it even more. You can set up like loan payments, you can set up so they automatically go once a month at certain times, you don't even have to physically go in and put it in or download or upload anything. You can just set it to go.
So they're doing payroll as well?
No.
No.
No, my mom does payroll, but everybody in the county gets direct deposit but these two.
Okay.
And now they're gonna be getting direct deposit.
Because there won't be really a system set.
There won't be a
Because the
system any
checks
longer
won't-
to print out checks through my
Is
mom.
there gonna be any problem with doing payroll at a different time than the rest of the check?
No, because the payroll, since it'll all be direct deposit, will continue just like it is currently. We can always change that too, but it won't have, they won't
Okay.
hurt each other.
There's this fleeting satisfaction. in
There
getting
is
the whole
also gonna
thing.
be, at the same time, there will be a fee pay button that's gonna come onto our website to pay fees that we can't currently pay with credit cards.
We'll write you guys big like golf checks, you know, so you guys.
So-
can walk around with that.
Currently, the county can only take credit cards for taxes and license plates, and we have to pass on the 2.4% from the credit card company. So to get rid of all that and not to pass on 2.4%, we're gonna call it a fee, and Alpine Bank is gonna. They'll be able to use their credit cards. They're not gonna charge us, they might charge us a one-time fee or a monthly fee. But if we keep enough money with them, they won't charge us at all. And I don't know how much money that is, but I think we'll be fine. Anyways, there'll be a fee button so that if people wanna pay for marriage licenses or the transportation fees or. Liquor licenses, whatever we take, improvement permits, sewer, septic tank permits. building permits if we have any, like any of that stuff they
This
want.
totally
to
makes
do.
them more efficient.
Yes, they'll be able to click a button on the website, pick what they're paying for, enter their credit card, and it'll go into
That
our.
makes a lot of sense.
And that's not an option we had with Citizen State Bank. So
Hmm.
those two things are gonna be happening at the same time, hopefully by April, May, with Alpine Bank. And depending on how they work and how life goes, we might slowly transition a lot of stuff that way. Citizen State Bank has told me all kinds of things, but I've had meetings and meetings and meetings and promises and.
Just the interest rates on their CDs compared to Alpine Bank.
We've all done a lot of business with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I never think it,
We should
Yeah.
be careful since we're.
Yeah, right.
I just wanted to tell you guys where this
Correct,
might
thank you.
affect you someday, too. So one thing, it'll make it easier for these guys, but I'll have to. Basically, when we approve our bills and warrants, that stuff all come batched and I'll have to approve it on our online system for Alpine Bank, or if there's special checks that need to get written, Livon's gonna have to do that and get me, but if I am somehow induced in a coma or worse, that's gonna fall on you guys.
yeah,
Probably
there's
just-
still
so-
the board will
Yeah.
approve the bills. Austin will sign off on it by going into the website and clicking that he approves it. And then that will note it to me to say, okay, go ahead and pay, everything's good. So there's still the multi-step approval process. So we still, so she can't just pay. But there are times, sometimes when Millie's like, hey, we need to pay this right now, it'll still go through that process. It'll just take more communication on our parts.
Yeah, and I'll, once I figure it out on my end, I'll figure out if we need to, like, what we need to do or how we need to set up, if we need to set up a backup account in case I'm indisposed.
Hmm.
You know, just to make sure.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that. And the only other person I gotta talk to is Emma and figure out how we're gonna deal with social services. But I'm sure we can figure
They're
it
probably like, oh, we use that too.
out. Right?
Yeah.
This will be so much easier.
Yeah, so, couple logistics that need to be worked out, but yeah, hopefully that'll be coming online in the next couple of months.
Cool.
All right.
We've also taken care of my commissioner reports, and you guys do not want to hear about the CCI meetings. They were terrible.
Thank you, guys.
We do have Bevan here, so he showed up for staff reports here.
Do you guys want this open or closed?
Do you have something you need to bring to our attention, or you want to give us an update or something? or-
I just, a couple of things, questions. One was discussing, just confirming that the county is okay with moving towards 2024 IRC-IBC code adoption. Because the state's requiring that we go to 2024 energy code by next year.
We actually did. We did have a discussion of this in CCI,
Okay.
and the counties were opposed to requiring counties to move to 2024 IBC.
Okay.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like it. They said, we would like the ability to, we're already being forced to move to the energy code. We would like the ability to maintain and update our adoption of newer building codes as we can, basically, not as we're forced to.
Okay.
But that was the position of the counties, of the majority of commissioners in the state, so.
Okay, I just need to know where we're gonna go, because the town's probably gonna go to 2024. We have the minimums that we have to hit. And 2024 is less restrictive than 2021. And 2018 doesn't make sense because we're not gonna be in compliance with the state at that point.
Yeah,
So
are we at 2018 right now?
we're in 06 right now.
06,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we're way off.
we're way off, yeah.
And there, you have to be within.
I don't think the commissioners understood that portion of it,
Right.
like 2024 being less restrictive and all those kinds of things.
My goal is to do it every 6 years, do an update
Yeah,
as we need to, but
yeah.
I understood that it could be different for the county. So I need to know so I can plan.
Is,
Why
Is
was
this-
the
is
county
this-
opposed?
just just over regulation by the state.
Mandate.
Over mandated by the state. It's more to deal with, we've, you know, if we have a building inspector who's been with us for 20 years and has been doing this for 20 years. That way, forcing them to, you know, update and
Have to go
do
back,
whole new code
get
and
more education.
yeah, so that was kind
That's
of
unfunded, so.
yeah. Are we sure that the state is gonna mandate the energy code? Cause my take from the discussion is that we were opposing it and that we were hoping that the legislature wasn't going to basically force us to update energy code and there, but it was.
I don't know if that.
I don't know if it's passed or if it's.
I believe it was passed in 22, so.
Okay, all right.
Which is why, like, I'm working with a cohort group of different municipalities. Telluride, Mount Village, Uray, Ridgeway, Montrose.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just kidding.
We're trying to get on the same page,
Yeah.
so, it does. We're gonna amend it to our needs based in our environments.
Okay.
But it can't be less than the state's requirements. It has to be.
Can we discuss this at our next meeting? So we get a little bit of time.
Yeah, we have time, that's on my list.
Say that again, Bevan. What to modify, we can't make it less than the state.
It's gotta be equal to or
better.
Or yeah, better than.
For
It can't be less restrictive than the state.
For the conservation code?
For energy code.
For the energy code. Okay.
Yeah.
So what code, I mean, what codes do you wanna update?
Well, I mean, currently the town's in 2015 and I'm having to.
You're talking about for all building codes?
All building codes.
Building code.
And that's, I mean, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's building,
Building,
it's residential, it's commercial, it's, you know, fire. And yeah, and some of those are not, they're not as many changes. Energy had the greatest number of changes. And you know, and I've been pushing it off for Tom, because if we were in 2018, we'd be doing a lot of what we're gonna be doing in 2024.
I mean, in the past, when we've adopted a code, we've been able to, you know, if we didn't like a chapter or section, we could.
Yeah, no, we do.
Exempt that chapter.
Yep.
Or that section.
And some of that is doable, and that's what I'm working with the cohort group to identify what we need to exempt.
But the energy code, we can't play with it.
Well, they're minimums that we have to meet in energy that they're requiring. I don't, you know, it might be a conversation for, you know, for the attorney on it, but.
My concern for the county is the type of building that we're having going on in the county is maybe not exactly the same type of building that's happening in, say, the town.
Right.
So
And yeah,
things like some of the mandated sewer upgrades that we've had. We have these overly complicated systems that are in another person's terminology, who I won't name, designed to fail. And so I
wonder who you're quoting there.
I don't know. But I just want to be careful that we're not making something that is unattainable for.
I would love you, I would like, to have another meeting to discuss this and.
Yeah.
And maybe run it by the attorney. Because that does affect sewer system, septic systems and everything else.
What's
state
the
regs.
Ringo Fire looking at as far as South County? Cause I mean, for fire code, because. Are they looking to, I mean, you're talking about upgrading, but.
yeah, I don't recall, I think they were at 21 now, so I think they would have to go to 24. You know, I was surprised that the county wasn't the same as town when I came on board, but. You know, but I understand it from other aspects. That being said, you know, we have a house that was listed for, I don't know, 16 million down on the border, the Collins estate or down by Purgatory. It's not a cabin, and so we're seeing that level. I've got 10 million is not out of the question of what some of the homes in that Cascade area are gonna be built.
Yeah.
And then you have, so another thing that brings up is fire inspector. Cause I didn't realize that Bill wasn't an inspector for the county, but we've really never had any commercial building in the county to the extent that we need
Not really.
a fire inspector for them. But now Airy Lodge is, they've got some fire suppression issues that I'm trying to resolve. And then I realized that, okay, even, if we don't have, if the county doesn't have a
Fire code.
a paid fire inspector, then.
But then you almost need to be doing fire stuff on some of the rentals out there too. I mean,
Well, we've talked about this for
Capacity
vacation
and-
rentals in general,
Yeah.
just getting inspections so that we
Yeah.
make sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
I thought Bill was the fire inspector.
He is for
For
the
the
town, but I guess he wasn't.
not
for the
county?
county. So that brings up, I just need to know. It's certainly how it relates to Airy Lodge, but then we've got more,
Is Bill gonna continue for the town?
no,
Okay.
so. And I just talked with Gloria about trying to sort out whether we're gonna hire out for that or whether I get certified for that. We're steering toward me certified for it, which would give us the opportunity. If you wanted to do, like vacation rental inspections in the county,
I mean, I think that was kind of, at least my understanding with Bill is, even though he was a town fire inspector, if we needed something in the county, we could do that on a contract basis with him.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to think about it and I'm having to plan for it. Because. Certainly for Airy being the first,
right.
but then we're gonna have,
Somerton Mountain is gonna need it here sooner or
Yeah.
later when their master plan is done and enacted and.
yeah, Chattanooga and Rex Cabin and I mean,
The Columbine,
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
yeah.
as a restaurant technical,
Yeah.
for the food license, they should be.
I just want our ass to cover on this and.
Yeah. All right,
And then that brings up wildland fire, so I'm working with Jim Donovan on education and training on that. So I communicated that my concern about all the fuel in the forest right now. And what can we do to get the feds to assist us on cleaning that up?
they came to us with a plan to do it on Kendall and. Then we rejected it,
Okay.
supposedly, I don't know, that was before my time.
Yes, I don't,
Was. This is from Elijah's mouth. Not anyone else, so who knows, he's not around anymore, so.
no,
And I think that Anthony has been talking with EPA and some other folks about potentially doing wildfire mitigation projects. The Forest Service and BLM have both said that they've got funding available to do wildfire mitigation, so.
Yeah, whether it's Ice Lakes or.
Lackawanna or Cunningham or
Usually-
Cascade is our number one concern, to be
yeah, it
honest.
is.
Right,
Usually
I'd like
to
to
do it at that wildland urban interface, that's what,
Yeah,
Ice Lakes isn't a priority, it's places like Cascade or.
Yeah,
up
like
here.
yeah, no,
Residential.
I'd like to prioritize any of the residential areas,
Yeah,
Yeah.
town and Cascade, highest density.
I just. Within communication with, Cascade Village, asking if we could provide. Some assistance, well, not actually understanding what we provided them before, but. If the county had more grant money for, fire remediation. Basically, I told them that, because they were gonna look for some grant money, I said. You find some grant money and then come talk to us and we'll see if we can find you some.
Right.
grants.
Yeah, I think Jim is working on that as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, a winter like this and a dry summer could be a bad mix, so we just trying to stay ahead of it. And then the last thing was just our discussion about the heater, getting the temporary heater for buildings in town, if that's something we wanted to invest in. It's an indirect heater, so it sends forced air. It's on a trailer. And they use it in new construction and some reno. And it provides, this unit would provide 1 million BTUs, which could serve a building this size. And it runs on propane and electric from the building, but you could get a generator for it to work remotely without plugging in. Pete and I looked at one couple of months ago, and it's still available, it's used, it's.
What do you use it for?
Well, I had Bevan with trying to find alternate heating systems for the hospital building. Because I wasn't sure that we were gonna be able to heat the building with just electric space heaters.
But the boiler room in the hospital would have been handy to have. Right, and I mean. Right here, it would have been handy to have a couple, you know, they've been, Lauren Lou and those guys, well, its system is squared away now. But every day they've been doing daily maintenance on this heating system. You know that, right? Here.
Yeah, we're in good shape now.
We're in good shape now, but I'm just saying,
But every
year.
So the question is they actually found. Bevan found a couple of systems. And like you said, him and Pete went and checked them out. The one they weren't able to fire it up, so they didn't have fuel or whatever. And so they weren't sure about it, but since they've gotten the information on it, it's $12,000.
$12,500, yeah.
So the question is it sounds like a pretty good deal, pretty good piece of equipment. Is that something we want to invest in to have park behind the carriage house where we don't have any room to park?
You can park it inside the old shop.
In the carriage house.
In the old shop, yeah.
The old shop building that we don't have room. And have it as an emergency backup plan, potentially to rent it to somebody who's doing construction. Or, you know, I mean, as far as the hospital building goes, we've addressed that issue, and they actually have heat over there. It's been pretty good, they're comfortable, so it's not the need that originally we had asked them to look for.
I want to interject something. This unit rents for $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Rents for $6,000 a month. So if the town needed it for their building, if Brian Anderson needed it for a project, 2 rentals pays for itself.
It can also be used to heat, say, a piece of machinery that is froze up. You could actually heat the ground with it, put a tent over it, and run the piping into it.
I was gonna say, will it thaw out the pipe below the bridge in Kendall?
Sure. Yeah, I mean.
Without burning
That might be a tall order.
So it's, part of it is a safety blanket, and part of it is, could be a real use. I mean, we have 2 water pumps that run the heating system here. One of them is dead. If the other one fails, we have to find that pump, and then, you know, I don't know if that had occurred when we were in our cold spell and this system was down, we would have been in a difficult place.
Yeah.
So I partly want it as a security. It's a low enough investment right now, and I think it could be probably used to rent and get a return. I mean, you could heat the garage up quickly if they needed to. Not that they do that often, but it's so it's just evaluating whether we think we've lasted this long and without it, and I understand.
It's up to you guys to see if you think it's a priority enough to get it.
Would the town have any interest in?
Yeah, I talked to John at John Sites about it.
Joint purchase with it,
Just make it quick.
Yeah, I mean, I can confirm that. I talked to John. about the possibility of even using it for, well, not only if we needed to heat a building, but if we needed to heat ground. I'm not. They also make ground heaters that are hoses that have a boiler made by the same company that makes this. And those are effective, but you could actually heat the ground with this unit too, as long as you put
A ten.
a tent over it, you know, enclosed.
I mean, I think a couple months ago when the hospital was in a different situation, it was an absolutely yes, we should get it.
Right.
Now that we're, you know, through the worst of the cold spell of the year, we're gonna say, well, maybe we don't need it this year. But then, I mean, we've had problems with the boiler in this building every single year. That I've been commissioner. So.
Yeah,
I think it's a worthwhile investment to have, to keep. To keep our public facilities open and in times of, disrepair.
Just, I mean, because of the heaters we bought for the hospital building,
Yeah,
we do have those, I mean, those will be available. And that's what we used last year was Lauren plugged in a couple of those, but we actually have.
Oh, you'll be able to bring them over here, what you're
We
saying?
could bring them over here, I mean, if we were in that situation.
You gotta have the wire, you have to have the plug,
Yeah.
so it's gotta be a 30 amp.
Yeah, no, but we actually have
Yeah.
more capacity here.
Okay.
And we were able to.
Oh,
plug
you
in a
do?
couple-
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
then more capacity.
You got a heavier amperage system here.
Than the hospital did, yeah.
One of the challenges is it's hard to find these units when you need them in that cold spell because
everybody needs them, yeah.
And then when I saw the rental fees, I started looking for used
Yeah.
units because.
Yeah.
And this is a propane unit. They require less maintenance, like a diesel, they make diesel units. New, they go for about 70,000.
Yeah.
I've seen used ones for 35.
And they're quiet, you could put it right next to the building.
Yeah.
The diesel unit
That
is
was-
like parking by D6 on full throttle outside.
Yeah, that was.
You'd hate it, yeah, you'd hate me and it.
And we look in the hospital, we didn't want.
No.
We
I
could
mean,
have had the name.
It would come in handy for all kinds of emergencies if we didn't have power, you know.
Right.
From everything from whatever, there's a lot of big buildings in town, you know.
Right.
But you've got a generator for it, either. On a side cart with a tank attached, like propane tank. Even if you had a generator with it, you could run it remotely. You can take it out.
It's on a trailer, so you can bring it anywhere.
Yeah, right now it's on a new trailer, and the unit weighs, I think, about 5,000 pounds.
Could we get a big enough tent and stick it on top of a snow slide with trees embedded in it and melt all the snow?
Sure.
Thinking about that.
Jumping the pass.
Yeah, circus.
New
tent.
pass clearing circus tent?
Yeah,
One of the disadvantages to the system. I don't like it's huge, but because it is forced air, if you had a duct system. It would be ideal. because
You gotta plug it into,
You would
yeah.
just plug it into your duct system and it would just use your heating system.
Yeah.
Because we don't have, any of our buildings don't have any, the duct system,
Yeah.
you're sticking it in the window and
Pumping it in.
letting it.
you can, and you can split it, it's a 20-inch pipe that can be reduced down.
Yeah, I mean, it would still.
Yeah.
Be much better than not having something, but it wouldn't be as efficient as having it plugged into an actual duct system.
Sure.
I mean, not that it'd be required for every room and whatnot, but we could think about, you know, hanging temporary duct systems. If we needed.
We probably would, you know, wanna have some extra. Piping just to,
Yeah,
you know, bring it in the nearest window and.
yeah.
Split
And
it
then
off
be able
a
to,
few ways, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them in
Look
like
like a monster
house
back
renovations where
courthouse.
they put in
Chemicals
fans
coming in.
to circulate the air into other rooms if they needed to. Primarily, you know, we're focusing on a lot of from the basement up, where all the utilities, the plumbing is, and then, you know, it's not a full-time, is a temporary emergency resource.
I mean, I joke about, storing it someplace where we don't have any storage, but how big of a unit is it actually?
It's about the size of the table.
Okay, so it's.
The trailer is, but it's not quite as long, but
Yeah, about 3/4 of the
Okay, so
table.
it's.
No, you can park it
Okay,
somewhere.
yeah, I just.
It doesn't have to be inside.
Well,
it's, I think it's on a 6x12 trailer. 6 feet by 20 feet. This is, if you want to hear how loud it is.
Um. I mean, I think we can give general recommendation, or if we need to think about it, we can talk about it at the next
We can talk
meeting
about it next meeting.
Yeah.
too.
And that also doesn't have piping attached to it, so it's gonna sound louder than if,
We're hearing the air coming out of there.
yeah, so there's return and supply.
See it?
Pretty quiet.
It's like brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to Denver tomorrow. Colorado Springs and then Denver, depending upon when you want. If you want to do this sooner than later, I could bring it back on my return, otherwise. It's to your.
But if you want to think about it till next meeting, it's fine.
You can, yeah.
It's not that far. Go grab it.
The big thing is this way cost against.
Eagle.
Need. I mean, that's
What's that?
cost against.
The
need.
lovely
You
I-70.
guys feel like we need it, then.
Well, my concern isn't the need, it's the cost of the repairs if we don't have an option, because trying to get something like that
Oh, I
out in
see.
emergency.
Get up here and
It's
your
not-
boilers broke down.
Right, boilers broke, put it down. The senior center has a major breakdown. Instead of your pipes freezing, you throw this bad boy in there. You've got temporary heat real fast, a lot of them.
I mean, I was dealing with.
I don't doubt that we could find use for it, or that it would come in
Well,
handy.
then let's just,
Yeah.
so we buy it?
I mean, what's the total cost again?
12.5.
12.5. Yeah.
And the unit that you guys went and saw before, you feel good about?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
Yeah,
one,
I mean,
that's
that's
what
the
we'll be buying.
I would,
Can I tell you something? You keep it for a year, let's say we end up not using it. Again, you're not gonna get bid on this thing, you can sell it for 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
I'm confident, it's like a piece of equipment.
Seems like a good investment, plus if we can run it a couple times.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You read it a couple times, it pays for itself and you're
You don't
happy.
have to confine that rental to here, you could rent it to them in Uray or Durango or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, you could
Mobile.
say you were rebuilding a bridge and you're doing concrete work. You could run it for that,
Right.
as long as it's tarped.
Right.
So it's versatile, especially if we find a used generator to go along with it. At some point, then it serves two purposes.
But it does have propane on the trailer.
No, it's just a connection, so we would
You'd have
connect it
tap in,
to a tank or get a 100-pounder.
Or a 100-pounder.
Yeah, depending upon how long you're using it, how long you wanna run it, unattended,
Okay,
would dictate the size of the tank.
okay.
We're thinking of it more like in town where most buildings have a propane
Just tap
tank.
into the tanks.
Right,
Oh, doesn't seem like a bad investment.
No,
Considering how many times we've had problems with heat, with hospital or here, or the town's had problems. I mean, everybody's had it could be Kendall Mountain Community Center, it could be any of these big.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
The visitor center.
town buildings, any of these big buildings,
The
big old buildings,
school,
I mean,
anyway.
not limited to county buildings.
Yeah.
'Cause the county buildings are in good shape right now.
For the moment.
For the, yeah, right, and we like that.
We do like that.
But let's say the boiler went out at, what do they got at the school? They have a boiler, right?
Yeah,
What if that?
propane boiler.
Yeah, what if that went out?
I mean, if you have a dozer go out and animus forks while you're opening up roads and you need to thaw it out in order to start it up and heat it up again.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you gotta get it up there, but
Oh, yeah, but theoretically, you know, you need to.
Right.
Eureka's a
Any-
better example.
Any old building, anywhere.
Yeah.
You can, it's mobile, you can get it.
I think
And,
it's,
and let's just say, you have this winter, next winter, and you don't use it at all, you put it up for sale.
yeah,
And I said 20, but you could at least sell for 15, 18 guaranteed.
yeah.
I don't see you getting bid on it.
I mean, if we did enter into the scenario where, we put up the animal shop for sale and Rusty moved back into this. I mean,
This would heat that in a heartbeat. That's not a, because they took the propane heater out of there, I think.
Yeah.
They-
well, I think they did, I don't know.
Yeah, this was,
They did, yeah.
this was coal and
Yeah.
that's
I
disconnected,
know
so
that.
this is not a nicely heated building.
you know,
Yeah.
I got it. 1 million BTUs, just under that is what was required for 20,000 square feet, which is this building. Health clinic is about 9,000 square feet. It would heat that building, no problem.
Right.
Also, any, if you're rebuilding that, it could be used to keep it warm and construction going.
I think we need to wrap this discussion up.
Okay.
We've been here since.
Yeah, we have.
8:30, so.
Let's wrap it up.
Do you guys feel like this is something that we should get now, or we think we should wait until our next meeting and discuss it further?
There's much more to discuss.
I agree. So I think it's something that could serve utility for the whole community and especially the county.
I'll make a motion that we invest in it.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye. Wrapping it up.
All right. And then moving on, I've been through all my commissioner reports. Did you guys have any commissioner
Yeah, I'll
reports you
give
want to share?
I had a housing solution for the Southwest meeting. They have a really strong budget and their finance officer, Susan, is, I don't know how she deals with the number of grants and the administration. It's amazing. They are a little worried about the state. Thanks to cutting, $1 billion and some of that not trickling down to them. They are worried about that. But right now their budget's strong. Their housing solutions was started doing the rehab program, just where they'll rehab part of your house, like spending 15,000, 20,000, 10,000. That's become that's the program we're losing money. And that's the program that started housing solutions. Now we have all these other programs that are actually bringing more money than that. So, and part of it's just getting the state to fund some of it. So, but that's all I got.
AAA, always exciting. Actually good. Ricardo, I think you met him. Have you guys met him? Anyway, the new director, fantastic. In touch with the providers, in touch with Carrie, the senior, they're rolling now. They're doing well. Deanna doesn't have time to be on the board anymore. Lois is not doing well. I don't know if you guys know that.
So, good ambulance.
With her heart jobs. No, yeah, she's not doing well at all.
I'm sorry.
She's a major member of that board. I asked him if Bevan could join because he's been involved in that senior center. They said yes. So he'll probably join the board. I mean, basically I'm on there to watch the senior centers back, the seniors here back and Carrie Messner's back, she needs help. Cause for a while there, the old director was, say names, but was an attack mode with her. Now things are good for her with Ricardo and she's doing a fantastic job. Dennis Kurtz got hurt bad, bringing him food, helping him out. I mean, it's what she does. And it's what the senior center does too. So I just let them know we're
more news in 1 minute than I have in a month.
What's that?
I said I've heard more news in a minute. than I
Yeah,
have in a
yeah.
month. I didn't know.
No,
anything.
Dennis is,
I'm sorry to hear that.
he's on the mend.
Huh.
Willie can probably tell you.
He was over at the hospital building
Our electric system.
I mean, he never made it into the building, he fell.
outside his truck, right?
Broke a couple of ribs and, they found him laying out there.
Oh.
Rotator cuff problem and,
Yeah,
It's deadly out there right
oh,
now.
it is,
Oh my.
doesn't matter
God.
who you
Deadly
are.
everywhere.
Yeah,
I pulled
But-
my truck up in the alley to have him unload a couple sandbags. My employee just leaned on my truck. He just put two arms in the truck and the truck slid over a foot. He had just leaned on. the
that's
damn truck.
spooky. It's
That's
spooky,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's all I have to report really. Like I said, Lois isn't doing too well.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Check on
She's
that.
been a true asset to this.
Yeah, she has.
Yep.
That's it.
a couple of things, I think I put that
Oh, yeah.
in front of you, that,
Yep.
email from, concerning the Red Mountain Alpine Lodge.
Yep.
I did, submit, responded to their planner and told them that, you know, just to use our letter from last year as our current position, and that if we can, coordinate a meeting next summer with CDOT and Uray County for parking, that would be great. But yeah, that was our position, so that's.
Yeah.
So we've got that, so I don't know if you wanted to do anything beyond that or not.
No, I might reach out to Sheldon just to see what, if the situation's really changed much or if it's the same, because we don't obviously need to change our position if nothing's changed. So.
Correct.
It doesn't seem like anything's changed.
And then the other thing I put in front of you was if anybody's interested, the Western Interstate Region Conference.
In South Dakota.
South Dakota.
That's the-
Pete and I went through, I guess we went through to 3 of these.
Who did?
Pete McKay, sorry, the other Pete.
Yeah.
And they were pretty good. You know, they're the 15 state, western states. We did one in Santa Fe and one in Flagstaff, and then I did one in Alaska. They're kind of interesting. You know, I've actually given this a thought.
When is it?
It is May 21st through 23rd.
Slam.
Right into the.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's interesting because they do these. I mean, where they do them, they're doing them early before the tourist season starts.
Right.
But for us, it's already,
We're already, yeah,
yeah,
we're already starting to bale hay.
And we're preparing for it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's Pennington County is in Rapid City then. I think.
What's that?
That's that Rapid City.
Yeah, I think that's.
Cause I said it.
Pennington County.
it'd be good to go, you know?
It said a
Yeah.
trip to the Badlands, so I assume it's Rapid, that's the nearest.
Yeah, no, they said it's in that there, but that's. Hey,
Be good to go, but
Oh, yeah.
interesting, yeah.
A lot of my mom's side of the family was from there.
it's a beautiful area.
Mhm. All right, we got her.
I'll look into this a little bit, but I'd rather try and go to CCI, I think this year than.
Yeah, and
Go to this.
and that's
And that's in,
June.
June.
Yep.
First week of June, I think. Maybe,
I think it's
maybe second week.
first to second, yeah, somewhere in there, yeah. But I'd rather go to that than go to this, so.
where is CCI at?
Usually it's in Vale. Do they move it?
No, that's what I'm trying to think this year. It used to be in, Eagle for years,
Eagle, yeah.
then they've been in Vale for the last year, and I think that's what it is this year.
Yeah.
Colorado County.
Incorporated or?
Yeah.
So it is, yeah, it's our like county lobbying organization
Yeah.
essentially, yeah.
It's the county CIRSA, or CML.
Gotcha. No, oh man, grandstanding. Just just imagine the 3 of us, you know, get about 70 or 80 of us together.
All got a little.
Beer too down your throat.
And a lot of folks wanna hear himself talk.
Yeah,
There you go.
I
yeah.
don't think I even know any of the staff from CCI anywhere they've done such a change over.
They kind of have, organizationally, not much has really changed that
No,
much.
I know, but just all the people they've all,
Yeah,
you know, the ones that are, you know, dealt with for years, all
yeah.
moved on.
Another good reason to probably go to the CCI conference and get to know some more of this stuff. Yeah. All right. I think we'll call this meeting adjourned at 4:20 PM.
Yikes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Long.
thanks, yeah.
Rescue this from the floor, I think it's yours. You know.